Everyone. Good day, everyone. So happy to have you guys around tonight. I apologize for what actually happened yesterday. Did I just say yesterday? Uh, Last week Sunday when we had some technical issue. You are welcome to Cetro's vlog, and it's such a nice time with you. We have a lot on the series today. As you all know, what we are discussing about today happens to be something of value to the whole of Africans, and the history of Africa can never be completed without the mention of this wonderful emperor. One of the best emperor, one of the best leader, one of the best human beings on the planet Earth, located in Africa, whose impact can still be felt till date, is no other person than His Royal Highness Emperor Haile Selassie. And I grew up with some version of stories about this emperor until when I recently embarked on some research to discover who actually this emperor is, what was his contribution to the world, to Africa at large, and I was taken aback when I discovered that most of the time, if you do not get access to the full story about someone, please don't base your perception on half told or half told or half spread stories. So today, aside this, while we'll spend time to look at the life of this emperor, his contribution to his country, to Africa at large, and his love for youth, then we begin to pick out the lesson points there. I'll be having some person joining us in the studio today because we shall also be talking about a particular youth we discovered who happens to be a youth with distinction, in the sense that if you are conversant with the Nigerian story, what's it called? The university, or what you guys call college out there, they've been on strike. The students have been at home for about 7 to 9 months. They've been at home. Let's just say about more than 7 months they've been at home. And while they were at home, a lot of these youth have been exposed to danger. Some of them have even died because they were not where they were supposed to be. There was a story of one of these youths that was, because of the strike, she decided to start to taking up a kind of peanut employment or what have you in an hotel, and in the process she was kidnapped and was killed. There are so many stories when we get into that. I'm just letting you know the segment we are talking about tonight, because tonight is fully loaded. Whereas where all these were happening and a lot of youth were being distracted, there was this particular youth that reached out to us, and she called out that my wife should help mentor her in RTW, ready to wear fashion business setup. And I tell you, when we discovered what this young lady has done, she ended up being someone that we love so much. We decided to give her the support from this foundation by giving her a free mentorship access. As I speak with you, one of the stories that touched us was that this young lady converted her room to a mega superstore. So stay with us while we talk about the emperor, his dedication for youth, his support, to the extent that the emperor could not see anybody within the region, within the confine of his country, to take proper care of education. He decided to be in charge of education himself. Whereas we have so many, so many rulers, I don't call them leaders, so many rulers in certain parts of Africa. The area that might interest them might be maybe the oil sector, the mineral sector, or what have you, where money is flowing in. But this man, this emperor, let me call him an emperor, is an emperor in truth. He's an emperor that has the feathers attached to himself for his love for youth. He decided to do something. Just wait. You will find out how much He devoted his life to do what? To make sure that the youth are his major investment. And we'll pick up some learning points there. Also, in today's in today's live stream, I told you this live stream is loaded. In today's live stream, we shall by maybe 10:30. One outstanding African, a particular outstanding African, will be joining us. I tell you, is a bundle of surprise. Is a senior person in banking. Is part of is at least is high level management in banking, and is into the tech world. Is he has a whole lot. Is I think he's also best graduating while he was in school. And I tell you, is a science student. He also has what's it called? He's also a chartered accountant. You can imagine how successful he is. But looking at the situation in Nigeria, of which a lot of people used to give us this accolade that Nigeria is the giant of Africa, which I'm still trying to understand the misery around that giant. Okay, this particular African, seeing what the Nigerian economy, what is going on in Nigeria specifically, he decided to do something strange. What was it? He decided to do something strange. Just wait. In the process, you will see what this young man just did for the youth. So today is loaded. If you are here, I want to say welcome on board. I would like to be seeing your comments. I can see 9 persons already online because tonight's live stream, I tell you, is one of a kind. Is one of a kind. Is fully loaded, and I know when you have a very busy night like this, you can only pray that time is not just faster, running too fast. So before I start anything, in case you are just joining us, I've given us the details of what we are going to cover, running from Emperor Haile Selassie, and running through all our discussion is wrapped around in his exploit for in the world, his exploit for his country, in case you don't know his country. Don't tell me you don't know his country. His country happens to be the only country in Africa that was not colonized, that was never colonized. As little as they might seem to be, they fought their way through to make sure that no joker colonized them. And I tell you, this is something that we Africans are proud of. And already I know that a lot of you are already guessing the country I'm talking about. If you don't know Emperor Haile Selassie, then I think you need to be re-educated tonight. So we are here to have fun. While we are expecting some of our what's it called, our presenters to join us from different locations, let's just get into this. I'm going to just play. Oh, okay, someone is here. HMM course. Love in it. Oh, newbie me. Wow. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Newbie me, please. Let me please our what's it called here. Let me send our invite in case you are there and you want to join us live in the studio. If you are conversant with the story of Emperor Haile Selassie, his Royal Highness, that's what I call him, his Royal Highness Emperor Haile Selassie. Yeah, I would just want you to join in through this. Let's start the conversation. But before we start the conversation, I just want to give you a little video we did within this week to talk about a program for Nigeria, because Nigeria is part of Africa. Nigeria cannot be pushed away, just like we cannot push this particular country we'll be talking about very soon away. Something is happening in Nigeria. A lot of them is happening in Nigeria. So we, as Cetro's vlog, we, the Cetro's family, we decided to do something. We decided to as Cetro's Foundation, we decided to bring in our foundation youth. We taught them in camera handling, we taught them in acting. So we brought them together to come and act alongside some more special, we like call them specialists. We brought them together to act a short movie to depict what was happening in Nigeria at present. You'll be in the process of this live stream, you shall be seeing what the numerous video. I think they made about 3 to 4 videos. You'll be seeing that coming up in. Okay, I have Dr. Ojo here. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here. Wow, Dr. Ojo. So you have the link to join us, please. We were waiting for you. Dr. Ojo is one of our major sponsor that we are also waiting for to join us online here. So with that being said, I just want to play this video for you guys to see while I wait for the others to Dr. Joe, Jim Barak, Nubin Me, Madam Claudia. We're waiting. Mommy Sweet 16. Madam Sweet 16, Grandma Sweet 16. While we are waiting for you. Hey, oh, Game and Me is here. Yeah. Okay, we have Dr. Joe here.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Okay. Dr. J, can you hear us? Okay, while we're waiting for his audio to be placed.
Good evening, sir.
Okay. So I quickly want to play this. Just follow through this. And if you are seeing this stream, please kindly give us a like and please share so that more people can join in to talk about Africa. The best is yet to come through Africa to the world. So I'm going to be showing us this.
Nigeria, a beautiful country located between the Sahel to the north and the Gulf of Guinea to the south, with a landmass of over 923,769 square kilometers and a population size of over 218 million people, largely blessed with over 500 mineral locations, apart from oil.
Nigeria has no business being poor because nature gave her all a nation could ever wish for.
At age 18, a child is assumed to be an adult. But at 62, Nigeria is more of a baby wearing a diaper. What a shame.
With high level of ethnic diversity, Nigeria has over 250 ethnic groups with over 500 languages, has experienced a civil war where millions of lives were believed to have been lost.
Numerous separationist ideas are now being formed because everyone seems to be against each other. From killer herdsmen to bandits to occult group to Boko Haram to rapists to kidnappers, name them. Families are running away from their farmlands. The young and old are nowhere to be found.
Is it time for us to run out of a place called motherland into a place called Western world? That sounds like a new form of slavery, where people are walking into the lion's den, willingly to be sold for nothing.
Nigeria is known to have about 218 million people, with its youth constituting about 60% of its population. Only if vibrant men and women could gather together to pray for their beloved country.
Kindly join us on the 22nd of October 2022 as we pray for a country that is fast drifting towards conflict and challenges that are way beyond leadership control. We all need a change in heart and attitude that produces results. Yet the foundation needs prayers to go well.
Okay, so with that being said, that is just to introduce to you what we are putting on now, because this was what. Speak loud so that I can hear you. So this to show what we are putting on, because we are talking about a program in which we are praying for this country called Nigeria, so that the best thing can happen here in Nigeria. So with that being said, we are going to the main topic of tonight. And I think I just saw New Being here. Okay, New Being, we are waiting for you. So we are talking about Emperor Haile Selassie. This is one of the best leader that ever existed in Africa. And before I begin to dissect a little bit of what I know about this emperor, I would like to have the view of Dr. Ojo. Dr. Ojo, can you hear us loud and clear?
Yes.
You are muted.
Okay.
Okay, so I want you to tell us a little bit of what you know about this Emperor Haile Selassie.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Can you hear us?
We can hear you, sir.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Kindly proceed.
All right. Good evening, everybody. So, yeah. You want me to say a little bit about Haile Selassie?
Haile
So,
Selassie, yeah.
yeah. So his original name was Tafari Makonnen. I might not be pronouncing it very well. I know it's a Ethiopian name. So,
Okay.
he was born in 1892, precisely on July 23rd, and he was born near Ara in Ethiopia. He died in August 27 in 1975. He lived about 83 years in Addis Ababa. That's where he died, and he became the emperor of Ethiopia from 1930 to 1974. So that's for about 44 years.
Yeah.
So, he by virtue of his birth, he was not supposed to be emperor, but by virtue of his marriage and the political makeup, so the universe and nature, you know, blessed him to be an emperor at some point. So because he was the grandson of Haile Selassie of Shewa and the son of Ras Prince Mekonnen, who was a chief advisor to the Emperor Menelik II, right? So by that virtue of his the position of his of the grandparent to the emperor, so and the virtue of education that he received because he was homeschooled by the French missionaries and being blessed by God and by the universe, that made him had some intellect and very knowledgeable, and he was kind of like very intellectual and had some intellectual ability. So he was being promoted to be the governor of Sidomo, and then the prince of Ara, where he was born. So by that,
Come. Oh.
during that period when he was when he was the governor of Sidomo and the governor of the Ara province, he made some policies that helped those geographical location improved. We read that he made policy that empowered the local community, by increasing the authority of the central government. He developed salary, civil services and stuff that the people were, they enjoyed and liked at that time. So by the time he got married in 1911 to Wezaro Menem, who was a great granddaughter of Menelik II, right?
Yeah.
So the Menelik was the emperor at that time, right? So he married the granddaughter of the Menelik II. So by the virtue of that marriage, after after the Menelik II died in 1913, the grandson, whose name was Lij Yasu, succeeded the throne. And because a lot of people did not really like him because of his close association with Islam. Also, he was known to be not really reliable and stuff like that. So he didn't have more popularity. So majority of the people, especially the Christian population, who are the largest population in Ethiopia at that time, they turned to Tafari, right, who is Haile Selassie. They turned to him for consultation, for to get answers to some of their problems and stuff like that. So they resisted the Yasu, who succeeded the previous emperor. So because of all those that was going on, uh, he was deposed by the people in 1916, and by virtue of their family, right? So the daughter of Menelik II, right, now was ascended the throne and became the emperor in 1917. And that daughter was what Ras Tafari, married to. So by virtue of that, he became the emperor and ascended the throne because by virtue of marriage and stuff like that. So and then because he already gained the popularity, people already like him and stuff like that. So that's how he became emperor at that
Okay.
time.
Okay, Dr. Joe, just note where you stopped. I think you are just pumping us with all this nice information about who the emperor we're actually talking about today is, and we really appreciate that. Okay, we want to move over to Madam Claudia now. Madam Claudia, we want your own angular perception about this emperor, because I want to listen to your views before I start bringing out what I have found out about this emperor in terms of his lifestyle and contribution to the continent of Africa, and especially when you're talking about the people of the Ethiopian people, of who have their
Okay.
origin, their background in Christendom. Okay, Madam Claudia, over to you.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Good day. Good day.
You're
Good day,
welcome, ma.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome, Mr. Setchon, Dr. Ojo, Mr. Setchon.
You're
Yes.
welcome, ma.
Thanks for the information, Dr. Ojo. You said a lot. So what I'm going to talk is about Selassie and education. Selassie said, why education? Right? This is written by His Imperial Majesty. From truth alone is born liberty, and only an educated people can consider itself as really free and master of its fate. It is only with an educated people that representative and democratic organs of government can exist, the influence for national progress. That is by His Imperial Majesty pertaining to education.
Good, good. Okay, now with
I
what you
want to
just said.
I want to stick my focus on the youths and education
Okay.
by His Imperial Majesty.
Okay.
Yeah.
She said she wants to focus us
Very
Okay.
on the youth
On the youth.
and
Okay.
the legacy of the emperor. Yes,
Okay.
ma, we agree with you. So
Okay.
just you're free.
Carry on. Okay, Madam Claudia. I thought I'm waiting to
Yes.
see Nubim inside. Okay, before you continue, I will just allow you to continue in the next few minutes. Now, one thing about this emperor that fascinated me is this aspect that Madam Claudia just mentioned. When he was trying to let his people know, the Ethiopian elites, to know the need for education, a lot of them were like, what is this coming from? They were looking at him suspiciously, that this guy that has been indoctrinated in one way or the other, or has been educated by the so-called Western this thing. that they did not want him to, they did not want the Western culture to erode their own Ethiopian culture. That is what I call a very sensible way of thinking. But they also need to note this: the emperor made them, try to make them to understand the fact that education, as it were, there are some things that they need to borrow from the outside to improve what they already have on the inside. And in the process, this emperor decided to start picking youth from different communities and assembling them to a special site where they were being trained so that they can benefit the economy. Lesson point: any
Exactly.
country, any
That's
country in
correct.
Africa that wants Africa to really be out of the wood, what we need is to select some youths that are still vibrant with their blood, that their blood is still very functional, their bones are still very strong, their reasoning is very at very
Articulate.
fast rates. Now, these are the people that we should be pumping ideas and the little amount of money we have to sponsor, not to give them to spend, but to sponsor what we fetch them a living for life, a living with meaning. So I found this interesting, and the Elites were against it. While the Elites were against it, you now discover it was the children of the poor in Ethiopia that were benefiting from this education, because the Elites were like, they don't want the Western culture to come and disrupt their own lifestyle, their own belief, and the likes. But let me tell you, at the end of the day, because this man was exemplary, because this emperor was different. This is an emperor not just sitting in the palace and enjoying the fattest cow, the chicken, and the likes. He goes into the streets. He goes, he mix up with the people. He individually, he distributes. This is what I found interesting. He goes to these schools. Emperor goes to schools for these African youth, and he's going with his right hand man that he has authorized to distribute money for them to buy necessary things for their academic needs. And one that there was this particular documentary I watched. One of the beneficiary, now an old man, was still talking about the experience that he got. How many cents then, that the money he got was able to survive, as in to enable him get some educational materials. And he's so that till date, as he's talking about it, you can still see when the emperor came to their school. This is an emperor that was building the future right from the past. But what do we have now? Can we say we have leaders now? We have rulers that are ready to consume the little resources that we have in the country to make sure
sell the
that
future.
they are okay.
And sell, I know,
And
incur
even
debts
incur
to
debts.
sell the coming generation up to.
So this is what I find interesting about this kind of an emperor. And let me tell you, when I was doing the little research, I also discovered that there is this particular storyline that linked into Solomon.
Solomon, yes.
In this sense, if you've been reading your Bible, you discover there was this queen called the Queen of Sheba, that she traveled to go and witness what Solomon was doing right there in the land of Israel. And it was discovered that even I saw a place in the Bible that said when Sheba was with Solomon, that it got to a point after seeing what Solomon was capable of, there was no spirit in her. If it was to be written now, if the Bible were to be written now, you know what that would be? It will be written that, and when the Queen of Sheba saw Solomon, he fell flat. He fell that she fell flat for him. She fell in love. That Solomon swept her off her feet. That's just the meaning of that. And I tell you this, there was now this postulation that being who Solomon, you and I, we know who Solomon.
Tell them, brother.
You know who Solomon is. You and I, we don't need anybody to tell us who Solomon is.
How many
Solomon
wives?
is a sharpshooter. So when Queen of Sheba, the possibility is there that when Queen of Sheba was already falling off her feet for a king, a beautiful king like Solomon, handsome king, sorry, like Solomon. When somebody is so handsome, it becomes beautiful. So handsome king like Solomon, the possibility might be there that there is this mitochondria, osmoregulation from region of lower concentration to higher concentration, and that led to the pumping of the belly of Queen of Sheba before he actually he actually left Israel. So there was
Israel abi Ethiopia.
Israel. She went
Yes,
to
it's true,
Israel
it's
to
true.
go and see Solomon.
It's true.
So with that being said, there was this historical myth or story that says that Queen Sheba became pregnant, returned to Ethiopia with the pregnancy that now link up to this boy, the generation of of the young
Emperor.
man and now became the emperor. So we can
to that,
actually
if
now
you don't
say
mind.
that we are tracing in. Dr. Joe, are you saying something?
Yeah, I said if I
If
can
that,
chip in something, right? Because
okay,
uh
okay,
Emperor Haile Selassie,
okay,
he was known to have some intellectual ability, and that was what impressed the emperor at that time to the point of him being appointed as a governor and being promoted to be in charge of two different provinces. So if that story you are saying now is correct, he must have tapped
okay.
into the gene of the wisest man on earth, King Solomon, if
So
that's possible, because he has that intellectual ability and capability, and he was able
It's
to
very
do
right.
all those great things to transform the city and the country of Ethiopia. So I don't know. There might be some linkages, there might be some connection with that.
very well, very well. Especially when you and I know that Solomon is chief distributor of
Even Google says that.
spermatozoa.
Even Google says that he was a member of the Solomonic dynasty.
So, and you will discover something about this man, the way his reasoning capacity. If we date it back, if we look back how many years back, the way he was reasoning was different. There was actually a video of him that I watched while he was at the parliament, I think African Union. This man, I don't want to jump the gun. This man did a whole lot. His presentation at the African Union was something else. Even when there was war, this man went and stood in between the two African countries that were fighting each other. He flew down there and he put an end to that war. He put an end to that war. Can we have a replacement of this Haile Selassie in Africa? Can we have young Africans that are ready to go extra mile, just forgetting about themselves, build youth, build real human being that can think ahead of the future, and let us stop circulating these ready to go human beings leading Africa? Okay, so with that being said, I want new being me to chip in
Thank
a home back.
Rastafari. To be honest, I have my husband. Oh, give thanks, give thanks. I have my husband on the line because he is an expert.
Wow!
Yes, now the
It's obvious.
I'm gonna come on, introduce you to him. His name is Alonso. Interestingly enough, my husband. I know it's probably breaking up. I thank you so much for doing this show and bringing out the facts. So I'm gonna bring my husband, and I want to thank
Good.
you for bringing this. We have to talk about Empress Menen, though. I think my husband would like to make a correction on something Dr. Ojo said about I think Empress Zadatu. But we must talk about, just like Joke and you are a great unit. After we talk about His Majesty, one day we have to have a conversation about Empress Menen, his wife, and the beautiful thing. And the story is true. There's no if the story is true. The story is true. And what we've been under, have been trying to hide it for so long. And the fact that you, Setros, are bringing this out is a blessing. So let me meet you with my husband real quick, and he can put some input. But thank you.
Wow.
Oh boy. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for having us here. The correction was suggested. It is a correction that is necessary nonetheless. Menelik's cousin was Makonnen Teferi, and Makonnen Teferi gave birth to Lich Teferi, which translates to the child to be revered, which is who eventually took the titles Degismach Teferi, and then Ras Teferi appointed the high title of Ras, and and so on and so forth, eventually becoming Edamawi Haile Selassie. So him being Menelik II being the uncle to Ras Teferi at the time, he was the second runner up for the throne, having been descended through the male lineage. So his association as far as marriage didn't necessarily affect his status. Perhaps it benefited his status, and he did not marry Zauditu, Queen Zauditu. His wife was like Emmanuel had mentioned, Empress Menen, which is a completely different person. Anyway, so and even that marriage did benefit him in the sense that this is a realm in which the Game of Thrones is being played, and so of course it's like political alliances and the best decisions that could possibly be made to benefit the individual's agendas and stuff like that. And so it was even Rastafari being alive was a big threat to Lij Yasu, because of the significance that Makonnen Teferi being a very loyal and respected war general for himself, and then his son being the next runner-up, it was feared to the point to where the church had to make a yes, Haile. Hold on. The church had to make an intervention and have both of them promise each other that Lij Yasu would not take the governorship, his raship of Harar, which was a Muslim province that was governed by Makonnen Teferi, and on the other hand, Ras Teferi was not to make any moves that would jeopardize Lij Yasu from obtaining the throne, and that was the deal that was made. Abuna Petros, I believe it was, who initiated this, because monks were coming down from the mountains and telling the people that they were having visions and dreams that Tafari was a threat, that if Tafari was alive, Lij Yasu would never obtain the throne. But the reality ended up being that Lij Yasu not only broke his promise, he took the governorship of Harar from Rastafari and sent him far away. That broke the deal. And on the contrary, Tafari never did anything to threaten Lij Yasu's position as emperor. Along with that, and along with dealings that would have sided Ethiopia with the Axis power, which would be the bad group during the First World War. Ethiopia, the leader, the aristocracy, the church said this: treason, death, murder, we're accustomed to, but apostasy is where we draw the line. And so the fact that he was showing evidence of siding with the Muslim religion, he was deposed of his position. He was threatening the whole empire by wanting to ally with the Axis. So so I just wanted to make clear that Tafari on his own was the only other male that could inherit the throne. It's just and it's not to put down anyone's information and stuff like that. It's just that things happened, and it's I'm asked to speak about a subject that I know so much about. Let me just put out a disclaimer. The emperor ruled an empire that was it had Muslims, it had Jews, it had Christians, it had tribes that were operating as they were thousands and thousands of years ago. I don't want to say pagan or this or that. They just had their own ways of living. So this person was responsible for millions of people. He was in a situation in which the rest of the continent was being governed by foreign forces. You know, of course, the decisions that he may have made that were not particularly in favor of every individual on within his empire, of course it could be looked down upon. But he did the best that he possibly could, and he shows I'm Mexican, you would say, right? And so like the idea of a good politician or a good leader is unthinkable. So but he discredits that idea. He shows that it is possible for a human being to make the best decisions that he possibly can, given circumstances, and rule for the people in favor for the people. So just to discredit those that want to rush into the conclusion that he was bad or he was this or he was that. Well, like give it, Yeshua HaMashiach or Jesus Christos, he said the Queen of the South shall rise up in judgment and condemn this generation. Well, I have one possible way in that may come to light. You see, she traveled far, and he said that scripture reads that she was interested in the name of the one true God. She traveled in order to obtain a higher education. People probably died along the way. A lot of money was spent. Resources were given up. In search of a higher education, of obtaining knowledge of something that benefit her and her people. Now we have iPhones that have all the information that's been recorded in human history.
Whoa.
All we could do.
Hello, sir.
The network is becoming so
It's-
bad.
We are losing
The vital things.
your voice now. Can you log out and log in back so that we can hear you? Because the informations you are bringing out, we don't want to miss anything, because this is not just the what's it called? This is not just the emperor of Ethiopia. It's the emperor of Africa we are talking about here. And a lot of persons are going to be joining us, and they need to hear clearly. They need to hear all the vital information about this beautiful emperor that Africa has ever had. And I just let me just react to this comment from Randstad Bless. In Jamaica, the Rastafarian says he is God / Christ returned to free Africa and all slave children. Today, his grandson is in Jamaica as a representative of Haile Selassie first. Okay, that to me is not a problem. You know why it's not a problem? Sometimes we human beings, whenever we see exceptional human beings, people that human being that decided to go extra mile to just be different, most of the time we might misinterpret them for God, because actually we are created in the image of God. And when someone has the ability to not to think too much about themselves but for others, and is willing to go all the way in to help others fulfill their dream, most of the time people get carried, with that notation that, oh, this is just like a God sent to me. This is just like an angel sent to me. So I think maybe that might be one of this, because I remember there was even someone in the United States of America that he was a popular preacher that during the course of my research, he was talking about what Randstad Bless is talking about here, that Haile Selassie is God. No, 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 no. Don't let us confuse that. Haile Selassie was behaving so exceptionally. So some persons got like, why this person is so selfless and just so God sent. So they before they started thinking that way. Okay,
Let's read this first.
let's read this. It says, "Hello everyone." Is
Grammar system.
Grammar 16 is saying this. Emperor Haile Selassie is said to be from the Solomonic lineage. Bam. Even
mother's side.
yeah, from his mother's side. So you trust Solomon. Solomon is a sharpshooter. Somebody that has
Very
one
wise. Is
one
it sharp?
is
We're talking
is
about the
very wise.
wisdom.
Is very wise and also a sharpshooter. You know how many goals is called? Somebody that married 1,000 wives. No, that person should be respected. Anna Greenfield says Emperor Haile Selassie's influence outside on Africa was most likely on the island of Jamaica. Okay, that is subject to debate. And
Yes.
so,
Who are those that
who,
agree with this?
who are those that agree to that? And
Read that one.
so I think I've read that one. Now we have, okay, one of his many quotes. If you are open-minded and ready to learn, there are many things which you can learn, not only from books and instructors, from the but
No, but from if you're open-minded and ready to learn, there are many things which you can learn not only from books and instructors, but from the very life experience itself.
very
And I
true.
think this is just what having what's it called, a mentorship program for startups in ready to wear. And I just came up with what I was going to be doing and telling them yesterday. I told my husband, I said, when I started as a fashion designer, I never went for training. I never had any mentor. So life itself taught me. So I told them that now I'm teaching and I'm going to be helping many startups in the ready-to-wear space by the various experiences I've learned in life in the
I
business. And
think
this
when
place
last
is
time I went
very,
to close
very
up the
important.
box and it was better.
I've learned from doing it now, getting it right itself. So
Okay,
this is very
so
great.
with that being said, let's go to the next one. In Jamaica, he represented an escape from colonialism. The Rastafarian chose him as a god. Only the rejection of what they consider at that time to be a
You
white
said?
god that was being forced on them. Okay, no problem. Everybody are entitled to their own opinion, but at the end of this live stream today, I'm going to talk about the latter part of this. His Royal Highness Emperor Haile
Haile
Selassie, and the lesson we need to learn. And I would like to link it to the song, one of the song of this popular Jamaican musician. Do you know who I'm talking about? Um, Bob Marley, in which he says, "How long shall we kill our prophet?" Okay, just hold on. When we get there, we'll talk about that. So, with that being said, we're
Mr.
getting.
Satchel, Mr.
Yes,
Satchel,
madam.
Mr. Satchel.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
I was, when you talk about Jamaica, right? Referring to
Yeah.
Jamaica and His Imperial Majesty visit to Jamaica, one of the reasons that His Imperial Majesty came to the Caribbean, he not only went to Jamaica, he and he went to Trinidad, but he came here because when America, during the Italian war in 1935, 36, what happened is that black men from America wanted to go to defend Ethiopia, but America did not give them the visa. They blocked them in other way from traveling to Ethiopia. So the men from the Caribbean went to Ethiopia to defend Ethiopia. They stand up and they said, no, we are going to Ethiopia to defend Ethiopia. So the emperor came on his visit in April 1966 to the Caribbean. You know what he came and he said? We in Ethiopia are blood brothers and sisters. And you know what he did? He gave the people of the Caribbean land to come and inherit. You can come and plant and build houses because the men gave up their life for Ethiopia during the Italian War. A
Yeah,
lot of men from the Caribbean
which is
died, especially Trinidad, to defend the country of Ethiopia. This man, when we're talking about Haile Selassie, we are talking about a man of high honor. No one can fit in the emperor's shoes. This is a man of high honor and respect. Respectable man. You know, and a man with a lot of love. The Emperor Kaz had no hate in his heart for no one. Yeah.
That's
Wow,
Salamanic,
that's
you know.
outstanding.
Dr. Jones' reaction.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I'm
So
so
this
I'm
is a
so
part of history.
so I'm so interested in that part
Yeah.
which you just mentioned because
Man of high honor. Yes. With
I also wanted to raise that point, right? And before I raise that point, right? So I think why people regarded him, His Royal Emperor Haile Selassie, as God or whatever is because some people regarded him as a messiah of African race, especially by the Rastas, right? The reason
Yeah.
is based on his achievement, based on his selfless life. He's kind of like an honor. I understand that he's not equal to God. God is almighty, but when human being like us turn to be extraordinary with greater capacity, intellect, and something that is like, you know, just from above that is far more than what we can see around. They liken such to God. You see what I'm saying? So it's not, I think it's not necessarily to equal them to God Almighty, but it's like an honor. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? In this present age, they'll call them doctor, they'll call them professor, they'll call them greatest of all time and stuff like that, right? Based on their achievement and the level of intellect that they exhibit. So I think that's what they are trying to say, not necessarily like equal, making them equal to God and stuff like that. But that's one point I want to say. But also, I'm interested in us talking about the role of his Royal Emperor Haile Selassie in the Italo-Ethiopian War, which
Okay.
occurred in 1935 to 1936. Which from my research, that's what led to World War II, if I am correct, or what prepared the way for World War
correct,
II.
Mr. Ojo. You're so
Because,
absolutely correct.
because of,
That's correct.
I think we need to
And they never
debate
told
on
no
that.
one that World War II actually started in Ethiopia. They didn't tell you that. They don't.
Yeah, so it was.
History does
I've
not say
never.
that, but actually, World War II started in Ethiopia.
Yeah, so we never read that because we, as a member of the armed forces, we read about all those World War One, Two, and all of those, and the roles of America and the other Western nation in it. But I've never come across any link, any connection with Ethiopia and this emperor about it. So I think something might be missing. I would like to get more
Doc-
insight on that. And what did he do? How did he do it? How was he fought? How did he escape? What was the connection? Yeah, I think we need to talk about that.
Okay, Dr. Joe, we'll talk about that. And talking about that, I would like Games Amps Me husband to get ready. I want him to talk about that in a few minutes, but let me just chip in something here because this is getting me annoyed to discover that while I was also doing the research, I discovered that the World War II that we are noising about in history now cleverly remove any trace that could link it as starting off from Ethiopia. I think that is so stupid, and I'm not looking for any green card in any of these countries. So let them be angry. It's so stupid of them. If it's deliberate, it's so stupid because this man gave a speech that made me to look at him as someone that is so outstanding. You know what he said? He gave a word of prophecy by way of speech. He said, "It is Ethiopia's turn now, that is going to be their own turn very soon. That if they keep quiet, because they were supposed to come up and protect Ethiopia, from Italy. But all this Western world, he addressed the UN. They did nothing. Instead, they allow, and the painful part, what actually pained
Yes,
me
but
that made this, the painful part was that the first set of youth that the emperor are trained in numerous craft, in numerous areas that would have developed Ethiopia further than where it was now. Those youth, they were targeted during that war. They killed, if I'm not, I might not be correct, but they killed almost all of them. So he had to, and
Miss
that period, he went into exile. It was when he later came back from exile that he had to start rebuilding another set of youth again. In short, I don't want to talk too much because whenever I look at all these stuff, it gives me this anger, level of anger. You can imagine what we are doing in this foundation, trying to build up these youths. Imagine one
yeah.
useless country, one useless minded people coming over to now take the life of those youths.
It will not happen.
No, it will not happen. I'm just saying this. My wife is. I'm just saying. Look at
Mr.
the pain that emperor went
Mr.
through.
Mr. Setcho.
Yes, ma'am. You have the floor.
Are you there?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Okay. While we are still trying.
Can you hear me?
Because
I'm like,
we can hear you.
Remember what the emperor said? He made a speech. Said,
Continue. We can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
We can hear you.
We
Continue.
can hear you, ma.
Okay. The emperor said, although you have struck the match in Ethiopia, it shall burn Europe. That's when Hitler rise up, World War II start. You say when he was pleading for his country at the United Nations, you know what they did? Turn off the light, bad manners, turn off the light on him and jeered him, make mockery of him. And he turned and he said, told them, today is us, tomorrow shall be you. World War II. You see what Hitler rise up and did to the Jew? Okay. This is a great man of honor. And
So
the
great.
emperor, he loved his people and he loved his country.
Wow.
You know?
I'm painfully enough, it's so sad to now see that so many leaders are not so many, would I say leaders? So many people are not leaders enough to behave like this. So I want Nubi Means husband, if you're there, I want you to take it from here, from the aspect of the war that was fought against the beautiful people of Ethiopia, bringing them down, and while the world was watching, not rendering help. No, be me. Is your husband there? Wow.
I think I'm muted.
Oh,
Muted.
okay. Can you unmute? Okay,
sir.
good. Let's have you, sir.
Muted again.
You okay?
Okay, hold on.
Okay. So
Yeah, while we are holding on, right?
okay.
So it's a thing that African nations need to wake up, and we might say we don't have leaders, right? But everybody is a leader in different capacity. Even from the youth we are bringing up, from the kids, everybody is a leader, right? Because even when you go to elementary school, go to primary school, and those they appoint them as leader, as class captain or stuff like that. Those are leader, right? That's how it started, right? So it is whatever we are inputting to them right now that it's going to determine how they are going to function when they grow up, right? The level of education that we need to give them should not be limited to what they learn in this classroom alone. So that's my own major concern about our mother tongue, getting rid of it, trading it for some cheap things like some other people's tongue that we don't even have deep knowledge of it or understanding of it, right? So because I can look at what's going on right now, presently right now in the world. Look at the war in Ukraine, right? Look at the billions of dollars in cash, in weapon, in everything that the Western nations are pumping to Ukraine to help them fight and defend their country, right? Even though Russia is not fully out, have not fully launched its military capability to fight them. But look at the amount of money, weapon, and all that the West are supporting them with to help them withstand the forces of Russia and to be able to defend their country. But why is it different when it comes to Africa? Why is it different? So those are the questions. Those that are up there right now are supposed to be asking when they have those meetings. So it seems they are using them. Africa is being used as a as just for statistics. Like, okay, we need to vote on when we are going to go to World War One or World War Two. We need number to support us. Get the number from Africa. Get the number from Africa. Even with their technology, when it's being developed, they really can't really go far until when the population of Africa jump on it. I can cite an example of Facebook. A lot of Africans jump on it before a lot of Americans jump on it. They
So
get
true.
the number and the power already from outside, mostly using Africans, right? And when it's like, oh, this is becoming true, this person is, and there are people jump on it and the government take over and kind of like regulate and kind of, empower them more and more and more, right? So the people that are up there now, when they go for all these meetings, UN, the United Nations meeting, G7, G12, G20, the question to be asked is, when you are debating on this, where is my own position? Where is the position of my people in all this agenda and in all this planning? But if we just have people that just go there just to mark their attendance and just eat the cake and get some stipends and and not really thinking and not really looking forward and not really, so that's kind of what is happening, and that's why this person is being called His Royal Emperor Haile Selassie is being called God, is being called a Messiah, is being called a savior of Africa because of his stand and his role and the part he played to bring that unity to Africa, even though that unity is not solidified yet, right? Because he's not just a person, he was a visionary leader that could see beyond that present time.
Exactly.
Right? And he understand the value of human being, and he saw that there should not be no segregation or discrimination. So if you cannot help me fight my battle, why should I support you to fight your battle? If you don't respect my people, why should I respect your people? We have the same blood flowing through our vein. Why should we prioritize some other people than the rest of the other people? Why is Africa being relegated and being looked down upon? And when they are fighting their war, going through their struggle, nobody really cares. But when they did the number to vote and get the vote pass and stuff like that to fight Russia or China or whatever the other country is, they need Africa to be part of that vote. And our people cannot think and not use their brain and say, okay, this is the time for me to now ask question or ask for, you see what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of other countries in Africa that have been going through a lot of struggles that is not even as worse as what's going on in Ukraine right now. We didn't see that. We haven't heard of that support, military support, financial support, and all those helping to fight with the Boko Haram, help to fight with all the banditry, all the that is going on in some of those other parts of the world.
Okay. Dr. Ojo, coming from this angle that you just mentioned now,
Can you guys hear
that
us now?
Africa, yeah, we can hear you. No be me. Is your husband ready?
Okay, wonderful. We've been here. Okay, he is ready. Here you go, Alonso. Before he comes on, I wanted to say also, Dr. Ojo, and for ones who are listening, the Hebrew culture, remember, we're talking about the biblical culture, and David, Solomon, creator.
Whoa.
So his
Whoa. We can't hear you again. No be me. No be me. I think you should just re-log in again. I don't know why this network in America is behaving like African network. Okay. While you relog in, let's just quickly read this. Segregation, discrimination, more quotes. Okay.
Segregation, discrimination, more course. These young people face a world beset with the most effectively organized program of deceptive propaganda and of tiny, screamed operations ever known.
Okay.
As in, can you explain?
No, you're the one that read it. You should explain.
Yes, now more quotes from
In-
Haile Selassie. That
yes, now.
what is happening is segregation, just like complementing what Dr. Ojo is saying, and discrimination. You will just be there. Young people in Nigeria, in Africa, I'm saying Nigeria, we're in Nigeria. In Africa, we are facing a lot of segregation. When it comes to those people from the Western world, they are there to help them. Just like this case of this hip hop, that we consider that if it's a white guy that is into hip hop and he wrote a sentence and his sentence is this, they'll say he needs mentorship, he needs training. But if it's a black guy that just wrote something, they'll say he's a terrorist, he's a this.
But coming from the angle of what Dr. Ojo just mentioned,
Yes.
in the and they talk about everybody being a leader in their little corner. It's high time we stopped just complaining about situations. The situations are very bad. They are really, really very bad across the globe, especially in Africa, where you have a whole lot of junk ruling the continent. Now, the stuff is that the challenge is this, that we cannot just sit down and be complaining. Each and every one of us, we are trained as leaders in one angle or the other. But if we now say, because we are having comfort from our own side and we become quiet about it, there at the end of the day, you will discover that it will be getting more worse, more bad for the continent. And that's why I quickly want to chip in this. I'm bringing someone in now that, aside within the next few minutes, is going to talk about, I talked about him during the introduction. He's going to talk about why he's actually going into what he's going into now, because the situation of Nigeria, I just showed you in that few minutes video that I just played, of which I might still have to play a little bit of it later, sometime later. While others are okay, we have someone, Alonso. Okay. While others are in their comfort zone, relaxing, some other few person. Oh, whoa, my goodness, whoa. Okay, just hold on a little bit, Alonso. While others are sitting in their comfort zone, someone like Emperor Haile Selassie came up to say, no, I can't allow this to continue. I can't leave the youths out of the game. I want to tell you that we are so lucky that someone in Nigeria also is thinking along the path that we are thinking. And he is a banker. Is a senior person in the bankers in one of the banks in Nigeria. He's a tech specialist, he's a scholar, is a science student that also have his, what's it called, is a certified accounting, and he's exposed to a whole lot. So I was confused when I saw him having passion for the youth in Nigeria, because he saw what is going on in Nigeria, and he decided to set up this program that we are putting on the t-shirts this night. He decided to set up this program called Youth Pray for Nigeria. So we at Cetros Foundation, we saw what he's doing, and we saw the need, why we need to come in to also assist in making that program run. So we want to give him, Alonso, just bear with us a few minutes. I want him to come in to tell us why he's doing what he is doing at this time. So, okay, Mr. Festus Osage, can we please have you on?
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening. Evening Nigerian time now. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, Cetros Foundation, thank you for this opportunity. Can you hear me, please?
Very
Yes, sir.
well.
You're
Very well.
welcome.
Okay, thanks for this privilege to share my passion with the house and with everyone listening. There's always been a negative comments about Nigeria, and it's not really so. And as we see it, a lot of things are going not going right as expected. We've had issues with corruption, we've had issues with security, we've had issues with all kinds of things affecting the country. Recently, even education. So, but we have hope. We have reason to hope that there is going to be a better Nigeria, a better future for our country. There is no one country or no multiple countries can accept the massive population we have in Nigeria. Very soon, Nigeria may overtake America in terms of population. Where are you going to put all these people? So we must fix the country. Now, how do we fix the country? I said, look, the adults and those that are a bit elderly may seem not to have a kind of passion because they have few years to live compared to the youth. The youth have many years ahead of them. Some of them have as close as 50, 60, even 100 years. Are they going to watch the country die? Are they going to watch the country go bad? No, they won't do that. So I'm trying to get them together to say, look, let's join hands together. There is something we can do to make Nigeria a better place. We must fix this country, not by fighting the government, not by being political one way or the other. No, I believe so much that we can handle the country by our own personal diligence, our own personal contribution on our own part, our personal devotion to God, looking up to God and say, look, I believe God by doing my part, this country can become great. That's why we're trying our best to bring the youth together. We're having our program this Saturday to just this coming Saturday on the 8th, on the 22nd of October from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. What are we going to be doing? We'll be gathering about thousands of youth to encourage them and tell them this becomes something, the passion we are trying to plant in them is not just in them, but as well it's cut across. So they are leaving the center with a revival. With a revival is the beginning of a movement to say that, look, I believe in a better Nigeria and I will speak for a better Nigeria. I will not join others to condemn this country. I will not join others to see as if nothing good will ever come out of this country. Nigerians are producing one of the best set of people across the world when they leave the shore of this country. They can do far better if they remain here, if we're able to fix this nation. Yes, we know we may not have the right government, but with time, as we begin to get these people to begin to think of a better Nigeria, when they are privileged tomorrow, when they are opportune tomorrow to have opportunity of serving the country and in the leadership position, definitely they will act right. So the campaign is starting now, and as it's starting, we're going to push it forward until people begin to change. Change style by changing your own self. At the time I change myself, as small as not beating the traffic light. At times when I'm driving, I wait on the traffic light. Others, some people see it as being wrong. And they just because it's very dark, I go to the office very early. So they want to pass by and beat the traffic light, not feeling as if anything is wrong. But I try as much as possible to say, no, let's do the right thing. From as small as that to the fact of every other areas of life. So Nigeria is a great country. We have potential to be one of the biggest and the greatest in the entire world. And I so much believe in it. I so much believe in it. I so much believe if I succeeded, I have never been to any foreign school, my primary school to my certification level, all I did them here. My ACCA qualification, everything I did them here. The work I started, I did them here. The level I am now in the bank, I attained them here without any foreign aid or anything. So you can actually do very well in this country. I've able to have succeeded. Nigeria has massive land, lots of things, opportunity. We can actually be exporting even agricultural products massively to change the tide against this continuous falling rate of naira against the dollars. So there are so much opportunity in the land. It's just that we have this mentality because people have been saying negative about the country. We don't want to hope or believe that things can get better in the country. But I think differently, and I know some people also think differently about that. And we are pursuing that, and we definitely, in a few years' time, things will begin to turn. As we begin to get more people to think right about the country, things will get better for Nigeria. Thank you very much.
So
Okay.
I want to chip in something real quick. Right? I was born in Nigeria, right? I grew up in Nigeria, live in the village, live in the city, and even live in the north. And I can write books
about that country. So why I strongly support you, your move and the desire to start with that revival and stuff like that. I also want to put a caution there because there are a lot of churches in Nigeria. Very soon, I think Nigeria is going to be one of the countries with so many churches or so many pastors and stuff like that, right? That's great. That's not a bad thing, right? But when you look at the major problem, the fundamental problem of Nigeria, things that are actually driving the youth, the old, and the corrupt politician, right? When you look at it, right, you realize that there are some things that there's nothing prayer cannot solve, but there are some things that has its own limitation, even with prayer, right? So now, what am I trying to say is that we should try as much as possible to focus more on developing values and principles to be able to communicate that to the youth, to be able to show them what that is, to be able to teach them to live by those good values and those principles. That's how to build a nation, because a nation built on godliness, on revival, with no economy to back it up.
Yes.
With no economy to back it up, we not last long. You see what I'm saying? We not last long, because there is a popular saying over there in Nigeria that even money is a bicycle or is the wheel of the gospel. Right? Money is the wheel of the gospel, which means without money, you can't even the preacher cannot even really survive to even get to where you need to preach. All right, and it's money that drives the world. The whole world, money that drives the economy of the world. So and then how do you get the money, right? So the person we are talking about is Royal Emperor Haile Selassie.
Haile Selassie.
One of the things that helped him ascend the throne was his intellectual abilities. That's what first impressed the emperor that made the emperor to promote him to be a governor, right? So we have to think about how we develop technical skills and capability, and that's why the vision of Setro, when I met them, I bought into it, because it's one of the things that I also have in mind before, right? So those are things that help build a nation. Why it is good to start with revival, why it's good to start with, teaching them all those good, the word of God and stuff like that, which is great, right? There must be a strong desire and a strong move to equip them with skills that will sustain them to be able to live those values and those principles, whether it is of the Bible or it is of the Islam or it is of one religion or the other, right? But without those skills, without things that can help them, live a meaningful life, put money in their pockets, help them to think on what to do, the creativity to be able to, live a meaningful life without depending on you or on any church or any pastor, they will end up doing the same thing that the other people have been doing, stealing and going into corruption and becoming a bad leadership, even on their eventually when they were brought up, when they have the
floor.
yeah, you see what I'm saying? So those are the things. So that's how I think we need to look at it, and that's why what Centro is doing, Centro Foundation is doing, is really great and really effective, and is gonna last long, because we're not just talking about teaching these people about the Bible or teaching them about which is great, right? But we are telling them that what skill do you want to learn? Okay, we pay for it. Learn the skill and then move on with your life. You have empowered that kind of a person for life. So tomorrow now, if you now want to teach that person about what the Bible says and this, and they'll listen, right? Okay. And that's exactly what Jesus did too. when he was feeding the multitude of people, thousands and millions of them, right? And in those days, right, he's solving their immediate needs, solving their personal need, their economic needs. So they were able to listen to him. And even with that, how many people actually followed him? You see what I'm saying? So that's to tell you that we have to look at what the problem is, the root of the
Okay.
problem, before we can. And that's why this example of this person we're talking about, Haile Selassie, is is a very good example. But what you are doing is great. But I just want you to pay attention to this particular clause so that as you progress, you can be able to achieve that goal and
Okay.
Thank you very
Before,
much. Sorry, let me just provide a response to
please,
Setro,
please
please.
hold on before your response. Let me quickly chip in this. Dr. Ojo is a Nigerian based in the United States, currently serving in the U.S. military, and a PhD has his PhD in business administration, and is one of our sponsors to this foundation, and also a very active member in seeing to the day-to-day improvement of the youth that we've been able to sponsor in this foundation, and a whole lot that we cannot even say about Dr. Joe for security reasons. Now, this question, before Festus reacts to this, I spoke on this. And if you have watched we uploaded a video of an interview video in which Joke Setro interviewed Festus with respect to this program. Because before we bring anybody here, we also try to make sure that their vision is not in contrast to what we are talking about. We are not just talking about God, 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 because a lot of persons are talking about God, 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 God. But for people to serve God, if the economic power is not there, they will end up stealing from that God. So, and in one of those one of the interview, we remember asking him question like this, because we believe in having not just to gather these youth, but they need to add value. So I want him to react now based on what he mentioned then, and if there is any other addition, and if you have more questions, you need to pump in the questions to him now. So over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Cetros. I think my emphasis on prayer is still not wrong. I must say it's wrong. I know you cautioning and advising. It's fine. Apart from that, there will be talk. At least we have section where a seasoned an example will be speaking. Somebody who has succeeded in that field will be speaking around education and the importance of education and diligence in attaining success in life. They will be speaking around that. And there will be a talk around why work on education alone. We have seen people that as you grow, especially the youth, this is the best time to tell them that as you go to school, learn a craft, learn a trade, side by side with your education, so that whatever it is at the end of the day, when you are done, you have something you will do. You are not waiting on the government to provide you a job. You are not waiting for the private sector to fix you up somewhere. You are getting yourself ready. I have a nephew who started hairdressing before getting admission. While he was in school, he had to sponsor himself. He said, "Daddy, mommy, I don't need anything from you." He sponsored himself right from the higher institution by himself because he has learned the trade. So we want to encourage you that fine, it's good. We're also calling them to say, okay, look, this is how to get yourself ready for the future. You need to be self-dependent. You don't need to be relying on anyone. You can be independent of anyone financially. So that will go along. But the truth is that we would also push for them to believe. The mentality again is that if you don't believe in the success of a project, of a nation, you will hardly believe that you will do well there. So that mentality must change. The mentality abroad about Nigeria, the mentality within about Nigeria must change. If it doesn't change, there is no way we can achieve the success we want to. You don't believe in your country. You don't believe that this country has become great because of what you are seeing now. These things will change. And we know that it is by changing myself and by prayer as well that you can effect this change. So All of them are going on together. We can't drop the prayer. It's very essential, very necessary. Definitely telling the youth of how they can become better, what they can contribute to the success of the country and becoming a great nation. They would also have to contribute. If every youth is hardworking, if every youth has a trade, for example, if every youth, for example, decide to say, okay, I want to go into something, we have massive land that we don't even need to export any kind of food into this country, really and truly. We don't have to export, no matter, we are getting towards 200 million population. We don't need to import any food to this country. We can actually feed ourselves and feed other nations as well. But nobody wants to pick up agriculture. Nobody wants to go into farming. Nobody wants to go into some of these things. There are trades that can be learned. Now, the skills in Nigeria, in terms of people learning skills, we are finding it hard now to get replacement for auto mechanics because the young people are not ready to go through that kind of trade. They don't feel like it's important. When you go abroad, you see people who are very educated, civilized, who do these things. And you are seeing people you don't get people to go into the carpentry business, furniture making. All of this trade, the youths are not getting interested in them, really and truly, because they feel that, oh, it's not going to give them money on
Yeah.
time. That's what
Yes.
they can do
And
now.
that's
And get money
that's
immediately.
so important. That's so important because without that, what are you leaving behind for people? Are you leaving behind something that is going to be erased, or are you trying to just carry on with something? And that's so important. That's why vocational schools are overwhelming more of the majority aspect of over colleges. I'm asking this question because I'm trying to figure out. Dale brought up a good point about Christianity and like be careful with that, and and there is an aspect to that I'm trying to figure out for myself. And I know Dr. Ojo has a better understanding of this than I do, but isn't there a middle path that doesn't revolve around? Selassie was, yes, an emperor, and he had his an Ethiopian Bible, and isn't there books missing from the Western Bible? And that's what my contrast is coming in from, because like how often is it like where you're teaching these youth something that they really don't have a grasp of?
Right. So wait. So one thing I want us to get right is this. One thing I want us to get right is this. Religion, right? It's a personal thing. Religion should be a personal thing. It shouldn't be anything that my parents have to force on me, the country has to force on me, anybody has to force on. It should be a personal thing. When we talk about God, it should be a personal relationship. And everybody, whether you like it or not, you will get to that point where the Almighty will make himself known to you, and you will have your chance to make your decision. All right. So I've seen nations. I'm in Germany right now. I've walked around Germany. I've driven around 8-hour drive and stuff like that. I don't see churches like we have in Nigeria. Germany is as a country is a very strong country in Europe. It's one of the leading countries in Europe. Look at China. Look at China. Go to China. Tell me how many churches you have there. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I
Tell
can
me how
tell
many
you,
pastors you have there. Now
but
go to
I can tell
Japan.
you in America, there's more churches than there is schools, and
Now,
because there is. Did you know Christianity has over 1,000 denominations, and because the way people want to interpret the Bible, it's like it almost is like prophecy in a sense, where the Bible says it will split up all the languages. I mean, it's just, how can anybody unify under one Christian God? Is it possible?
Okay, I think I need to
So
I need to come in now because I don't want us to veer
get
off
from Haile Selassie.
from the topical issue. We'll come back to that, Jim. Now, let's look at this carefully. Dr. Joe mentioned some points there. Jim Barak mentioned some points there, and Festus mentioned some points there. But let me tell you this. The truth is that a lot of you have been out of this country for long. You really do not know much as what is going on in this country as compared to us that are waking up with the call for help, the cry for help, the pain that the youth are going through. Presently, they just call up the strike. Is more than 7 months our youths they've been at home instead of being in the university. They've been at home. Their age is growing, yet every day they are reducing. I work in the banking sector. I happen to work in HR, and every day the age of the employment age continue to go down, continue to decrease. Now you're talking of people, if you are more than 21, 22, in short, if you are more than 21, 22, by the time you are even getting to 24, the possibility of getting employed in some organization is off key in this country. Yet some will even still ask you of your experience. Now these youth have been at home for more than 7 months, not in school. A lot of them have turned to gangsterism. A lot of them have turned to people duping people like you, Jim. Jim. A lot
Yes.
of them have turned to scammers, trying to scam white guys like you.
Yeah,
black
yeah, yeah. They shut down my Proton Mail account, and they called my house. It was um they were Nigerians. They called my house and everything.
Alonso, if Alonso is not careful, if you have a very plain mind and you're not careful, some of these youths, they will scam you of your hard-earned money. Why? Not because many of them want to live that lifestyle, but there is no opportunity for them. They have no means of getting their life on track. They were supposed to be in school, now they are at home doing nothing. Their parents that are farmers, killer headsmen are in farm, killing people on the farm, so their parents cannot go to the farms. Now, even for them to even travel to places, they can be kidnapped. Some of them have been killed. I just cited an example of one of those youths that during the course of this strike went to work in a hotel and was kidnapped and killed alongside our boss. Thank God in this foundation, I've shown you, at least there is one I showed you. He called for help. We brought him to the foundation and we are training him in photography and videography.
And he's studying agriculture.
And he's studying agriculture.
That's the interesting thing.
You can imagine that. Now, we are trying a whole lot to support this youth, to bring them back. There is one of the youths that I want to show you a little bit of our work here. She is, I think she's also a science student.
Yes, she's a science
now she's into fashion. Let me just show you a little bit of our work while I explain. Just look at this. While our mates are busy looking for crime to commit, she's going to market to go and get all this, to start making clothes. This is what she made. She's making these clothes. She's supposed to join us live today, but her house is flooded. It's flooded. Don't let us even go there now. See, she's making this beautiful stuff. She called for mentorship. So we had to mentor her in going into ready to wear, so that her stage, so that she doesn't turn to be a prostitute. Look at what you are seeing presently, like a store. She turned her room into a fashion store.
Yes.
She single-handedly sold all these clothes you are seeing there.
She's an undergraduate.
How many youths?
20 years.
How many youths can be passionate enough to get engaged in this? So she organized and brought in people to come and patronize. She launched her collections. See people, all these ones they are trying to purchase from her. So this is the story. We don't just want to just come online and start telling stories and start saying this, complaining. We want see our packaging.
Branding.
See our branding. See our branding.
This
a
youth.
A
She's
girl,
got 20 years.
20 years of age. Now she has this. This is the kind of youth we want to support. Now let me come back to where we are coming from. Where we are coming from is the fact that what you are seeing going on in the life of these youths needs prayer. because a whole lot of them, they
Now,
are depressed.
look at what she's going
A
through.
lot
She
of
just spoke
them
with me.
now.
Let me see.
She's supposed to join us live now. She just spoke with my wife.
Yes.
Okay.
She was the one that was calling while we're on this live stream. She was supposed to join us live, but she just informed me that that there is a flood that happened in Yenegua some days ago, Bayelsa State. Yes. So now she said her house is flooded. And I said, what of all your goods? She said she's been able to take them somewhere. She's right now at Port Harcourt. So I said we have to speak tomorrow. So she made up a time. She's even sending me a voicemail now because I'm giving her free mentorship on Ready to Wear.
And
so that mentorship is about $500, so I'm giving her for free.
So
as a support
now,
from
why do I need to bring this in? Let me tell us. It's just that we must balance. I want Festus to come back online. We want to see your face. What's it called? It's just that we must balance things. But I can tell you, in this nation, Nigeria, I don't know of any other country. In this nation, Nigeria, a lot that are happening is more than physical. But we don't have to live a lopsided life. The kind of Christianity that I practice, I'm not saying you should come and join my own kind of Christianity. The kind of Christianity that I practice is a 6 o'clock Christian. One hand is on 6, you are walking while you are still on earth, the other hand is on God. So we need to balance it. That's why I will allow ourselves to be associated with this intellectual person, because he's learned, he's well exposed, he's well traveled, and that's why we could align ourselves to him. It's not that we're just bringing one.
And he also has an
one joker, and
he also has an NGO.
He also has what's it called, an orphanage.
Yes,
you understand. He also has an orphanage, and they are rescuing babies from people that could not take care of the babies, that could not listen. They are taking care of that. But we, on our home part, we are for the youth. Anything that concerns the youth, both physical, spiritual. When we talk of physical, we are providing them with enabling environment for them to be able to create something nice. And that's why when we scrutinize that, we question him a lot in numerous stuff. That's why we're bringing him here to talk about this. And that's why Cetros Foundation is in full support of what he is doing. And while he was talking with Dr. Joe, you guys were mentioning, okay, Jim was also raising the question about we need more carpenters, we need more.
Yes, we have.
I have a lot to show you. Our youth now
that we are training
during you remember the last time I traveled to Ibadan, that the foundation sponsored some persons in upholstery, some youth in upholstery, auto mechanics. Within the course of this stuff, I will look for the video. I've not been able to edit them. I will also post them. We are doing great, but we can do better. With little fund, we have been able to achieve this. Now imagine if we have more support, we have more people that are dedicated on monthly basis to say, oh, let me just earmark this amount to be given to the Cetros Foundation via our what is it called? Because we are not just looking at Haile Selassie to tell the story. When I was going through the story of Haile Selassie, I was like, wow, so I can be better at what I'm doing. What our foundation is doing is not that special yet, because if we have somebody that has already died and we have not been able to go beyond his level, then we still have a long man. So what we are doing today, you can see Haile Selassie, and I want Festus to take note of this. Haile Selassie was classified like God on earth. And that's where we believers, we need to find ourselves. We need to place ourselves very well. Telling them about God is good. But if it's only God we are telling them, we are not talking about how they will survive in this body so that they can house God, then we have not done correctly. Because Haile Selassie did not even tell them about God, but they could see God in him. But because they do not have the knowledge about God that much, they have to say, no, if I don't see God, this man is God.
He's playing God.
You understand? So
he's taking care of me.
And the Bible says that ye are God's little children. If you read your Bible very well, you see that. So I believe that by the time we come together, to really do so many things together, like working with well scrutinized body like this youth pray for Nigeria, YPN,
YPFN.
YPFN, and so many other groups. We are open. We want to work with as many people that are possible that are going to help us
Youth.
to
Grooms
touch
in
the
youth.
life of this youth. Because I tell you, if the spiritual aspect of this youth, so many of them are in cultism now,
Yes.
and you want to go and empower them with a skill, they will just
Like what, madam?
they will just
Mommy
use,
Sweetie says.
they will useless the support. You will not see the fruit of the support. Maybe you have a youth now, you sponsor. After sponsoring the youth, when you are now expecting the youth to be fulfilled, the youth has gone to join some cult group, and they are killing themselves, and they kill. So the investment of the foundation is nothing. So we need both spiritual and physical to balance things right. So I want us to always have that mindset. I know that the church, anything that has to do with religion in Africa has been so much bastardized. But I tell you, the presence of fake simply says that there is
There
still
is.
originality somewhere. So I want us to.
I want to make a point. So
Okay.
the reason why this Christianity of a thing that we're talking about, I'm a Christian, right? But
Yeah.
the level I'm operating is different from a lot of people, even from when I was little, right? The reason why it's becoming controversial is because of the way it is presented,
Exactly.
especially in the African nations, right? And the reason why it is presented that way is because the language that was used to convey the message is not our language. So we didn't get it right. He didn't get it right. And the intent for which it was brought to us seems not to be the major and the principal intent that it's meant for. It is being brought to them mostly on business, for their own personal gains and for their own personal purpose, not for like our own personal benefit and interest in the long run. You see what I'm saying? So that's why we're getting it wrong, because the mentality of the people over there in Nigeria, I was there, I grew up there, is that they just believe that it is only God that can do everything. It is prayer that can do everything. If you go to church and you are in church from morning till night and you can fast for 130 days, and my brother, you are wasting your destiny and your time, because you are not, none of these people, none of us here is Jesus Christ that had to do 40 days. Even Jesus did 40 days, right? 40 days and 40 nights. He didn't do 100 and something. I know of people right now that they can fast for a whole 3 months non-stop. Dry fasting with maybe only drinking water, no food at all, expecting one magical angel or one miracle. God, that's not how God operates. So they are getting it wrong. That's why that's why I put that caution there, so that it's not going to end the same way, because we are getting it wrong. You see what I'm saying? It is this that God has given us to use our brain, and the reason why He gives us this brain is because so we can be less dependent on Him, God, because He's busy doing His own thing, that He's preparing for other things, right? So the focus should not just be on the revival or on the preaching of the Christianity, that the original intent was not for our benefit, that we have gotten wrong. We didn't get it right. The original intent should not only be on that, but the intent should be the example that this His Royal Emperor Haile Selassie set, which we can still talk about it tomorrow. You see what I'm saying? Empowering these youth, empowering them without even have to tell them about Jesus, about Allah, about anything. They will see it when we are able to empower them, because you are a God to the person you are feeding. You are a God to the person that you empower to be able to earn a living and provide for himself. You are a God to that person. You don't even need to say it. So that's why they could call him God. So the focus should be on what about if all these so many Christian outlet churches and mosques and all over in Africa, what if they adopt this kind of principle that the Central Foundation is doing right now? What if they start engaging in marketing some of these successful youth that has been trained that are making those products that you are showing us? What if you have those pastors, those Christians that are educated? What if you have them sponsoring them, empowering them, marketing their products, buying their products? Do you see how that will help those youth to even be encouraged, and it will influence a lot more other youth? But if we are praying and we are teaching them about Christianity, about the religion, and this person now has all those clothes in his bedroom, in his room that he made, right? And the flood is disturbing, and nobody's able to buy those products. What's the essence of the prayer? You see what I'm saying? So that should be the more the focus should be on adding that value, empowering them, sponsoring them, marketing them, teaching them those technical skills. And then by themselves, they will ask us if they want to know about our God. They will be influenced by our action. And when we had those value to them, those principles. So those are the things that they are getting wrong over there. The principle, the life principle, values that can last for decades, for centuries, are being lost. And then African nations are so good with copying. They can copy. You teach them this skill right now. Tomorrow, when they hear about whatever that is going on in Europe, they are ready to dump that one and jump to the other one, not even knowing the basis and how that one will survive, how will last
Okay,
them, or so
let me
that's
come
kind of
in.
what they are getting wrong.
Okay, let me come in before Festus respond, because he will be resuming back to the office very early tomorrow morning. Being a banker, let me just chip in. You want me to say something that I didn't want to say before? Do you remember? No, be me. Do you remember when I told you that in 2019 we did
Yes.
something?
Yes.
Africa Fashion
so-
and Food Expo.
Yes.
That you saw us sponsoring youth. They did a wrong way, everything for free. They didn't pay a dime. Now let me tell you this. The person, the initiator of this program, this man you are seeing here, Festus. Then we had not set up a foundation like this, in which we sold our property. He was the one, when even the banks failed us. He was the one that loaned us hundreds of thousands
Yes.
without
And the
collecting
wife,
interest.
they were there for us.
Are
So
you
they
with
are
me?
really supporters
So
of youth.
they are really
supporters
supporters
of
of
youth.
youth.
No.
Before I bring anybody, I don't just bring maybe, sorry to say, maybe an idiot that is just thinking that it's just pray. No, I will always do my background check and look at the person. Is this person quoting scripture for quoting sake, or is he living the life? So, and I can still tell you, till date, I still have part of that money unpaid. I'm still, sure you understand. I'm still having that part of that money yet to balance up. And this is, I said, I didn't want to say this before. I just wanted you to know that the person, the man behind the vision, is what made me to say, oh, Cetrus Foundation can actually be a part of this, because we are
It
going
was
to.
really on ground
It
that
was
day,
on
despite
ground.
this tight schedule.
Despite his tight
He was
schedule,
there
he's
during the
a
program.
senior
The
person in
wife,
the banking sector. He
and we
and
had
his
many
wife
youths.
came in, and we had about 500 youths, or between 3 to 500 youths
Was
participated
great.
in that. This in Bank of Industry, Nigeria Bank of Industry was on ground, and the likes. And that program would have failed if not for them that dropped that amount of money for us to support what we had on ground
Selling our property.
after selling our property. So now we've gotten that part cleared. So Festus, I want you to sorry, Alonso, do you have any question for Festus?
No. I think first of all, I just want to say faith and work, faith and works, and His Majesty did. There's a book called The Wise Words of His Majesty. He guided us towards Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. Admittedly, some Rastafaris don't follow Christ, and it's really heartbreaking. But that's not what his majesty was about. He did talk about education, politics, spirituality, and also told us you don't criticize a man with his relationship with God. So, as these 12 tribes, as the children of our Creator, we're all gathering now and communicating and exchanging. And I just want to say thank you, Brother Festus. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ojo, because what Dr. Ojo said is right. Because some Christianity is,
Very, very
I
right.
like to say, Christian voodoo. It's not true.
Let me let me
Now I let my husband speak.
well let me just because I mean
So beautiful.
I understand that both individuals are correct because we're both working hard
Sorry,
and
Look at me.
Alonso.
Look at
Before
me.
before you continue, I
So
must
that we
say
let Mr.
you are
Festus
so
talk.
good looking.
Look at me. Is this
what
your husband?
Okay,
Please
continue.
let
No, no,
Mr.
no.
Festus
Let
talk so
let
that
no.
we can
I
go.
want Alonso to react to this so that Mr. Festus can be excused. I want Claudia, Madam Claudia, to also react so that Mr. Festus can respond so that we can excuse him so that I can prepare for work tomorrow. So Alonso, you have the floor.
well I mean there's
Thank you. He is. I have good
oh
taste.
boy now
I have good taste.
I believe that both of our fellows here are both working hard and spiritually grounded enough to be in the position that they are. And so you know, like I agree with both sides. We must take in human beings for individuals in different from the perspective of the individual, which is a different environment, a different scenario in a different situation at a different time, you know. And so like all these things factor into like what the solution will be for the individual that we're looking at, not as a assembly line with just mechanical parts that are all identical, but a living human soul that is unique in his own experience, you know. So that's to say both are right, you know, in their own perspective, you know, like it's
And
now see.
and part of this beautiful picture that the vision of Setros, I give thanks.
But I do believe strongly that just the information of a black emperor and everything that he has to offer is in part the motivating factor that will enable those that are willing to listen and are interested in learning all this that we need that is too much for man to explain with their human mouth. God fills in all those different details that we wouldn't be able to otherwise describe. But I do believe that it is as it was for me, the Emperor of Ethiopia, and I believe that a lot of uh, the experience of Ethiopia itself can be having started from nothing, you know, then they at one point in time understood that the mechanic was as important as the flight attendant, you know, because they rapidly moved in from like no automobiles, no electricity, no aviation, none of these modern technologies to having obtained them. But we also see that having lost their spiritual groundedness had compromised their whole empire, and now they find themselves in a situation, unfortunately, in which we can learn the good that was once there and the good that could be, but the bad that came from looking into the materialistic aspect of life. And everything was necessary. Listen, the emperor was the one that granted the people the first written constitution. He empowered all Ethiopians to be and form a part of government. So when they decided to overthrow the emperor, they were fulfilling their rightful ability to judge for themselves and be a part of government and say, we do not want this imperial government anymore. So even that mistake was the power granted to them by the same emperor that they overthrew. Now, in everywhere else in the world, revolutions have had to be fought. Blood has had to been spilled. The emperor granted the people this power. He wished he would have done it before he became emperor, but it was too suspicious of a move to convince the Queen Zauditu and everyone, his worst enemies, which were the people whom power he was taking from to give to the people, would have jumped on it and immediately have had an opportunity to make him seem as though he was threatening the power of the empress at the time. So I mean, there's so much. I mean, there's so much to talk about.
Okay.
So we
The very
Okay.
definitely come back to you.
Alonso, you have so much to deliver that we cannot allow you
To go.
to just go. Just kindly hold on for us. Madam Claudia, what will you say to Festus? Are you there? Okay. Festus, you have the floor now, sir.
Okay, thank you again, Citrus Foundation. When it comes to diligence, when it comes to hard work, I'm a complete. I believe man is made up on different parts. There's a spiritual part, there's a natural part. Both parts must be taken care of. Very true, very correct. The truth is that you are a complete man and you need the spiritual part to be able to function well. Now, when it comes to hard work, I work in a very one of the top financial institution in the country, and for me to be nominated as the project manager of the year was not spiritual, fully spiritual. I delivered. I did certain things. I've had awards in 2020, 2019, back to back. My effort is being recognized. I support a solution that serves the entire bank. There's hardly any outlet of our bank that you get to and you mention my name are not known because of the solution that God has helped me to manage. Why is all this so? Diligence, hard work. You can't. When Dr. Joe was referring to somebody going to the mountains to do 100 days, I know it happens, but this is very minute. I don't know how many people practice that. It's not a common thing in Nigeria, so to say. But the truth is,
It
you
is
have to you have to stay your ground. You have to work hard. For me myself, I work so hard in terms of my work, and that is what has, by God's grace, has taken me to where I am today. And I also pray so hard. That is also what has taken me to where I am today. What has worked for me can work for anybody, anywhere, really and truly. So, what has worked for me, I'm not saying what I don't know. I'm saying
Yes.
what I put into practice that is working for me now is still working for me continuously. So, there's nothing in terms of my work, I take my work very seriously. At times, I take my work above ministry because I am not into full time, not a full time pastor. My work is very important. I don't joke with it. I do it well. When I was opportune to speak to some young people, I told them, I said, what is your priority? Your prioritization of your priorities in life should be number one is your relationship with God. Number two is possibly your family, and number three, your career, your job. You must not joke with your job. You must do it well. Now, this youth need to be coached along this line, really and truly. If they live and then all they believe is that, oh, I need to get the best of job, I need to get the best of work, I need to get income in. It's important, it's good. But they also need direction. They need to be guided. They need to be put right. They need, you see, if you get, for example, the Central Foundation is leading people to do certain things. If you get someone who is skilled or who is talented or who is divine or who is assigned to go into the carpentry business and that person pursue fashion, at the end of the day, the person has put so much effort and is wasted. But there needs to be a guidance. How will this guidance surface? It's not by guesswork. You understand? It's not by guesswork. It comes via the instrumentality of guidance, a guidance far above humans. So these are all the things I believe in. I believe in work. I do it. I put my best to whatever I'm doing. I believe in people. I believe in raising young people so that they can also as well succeed. And I know that as we put this together, as we pursue everything, not leaving one behind, definitely success will be our lot. Thank you very much, Citrus Foundation. Thank you, everyone.
Whoa, thank you so
So
very
very
much.
much.
We'll be excusing you now, but kindly let us state here that on
Okay.
Saturday,
Mr.
this
Central,
coming, this
elaborate.
com- okay, I'm coming, please, madam. This Saturday,
Saturday,
22nd of October,
Hello?
uh, 2022, we'll be joining the live stream
stream for
for the program Youth
Youth Pray
Pray
for
for
Nigeria
Nigeria
2022.
2022. So I'll be showing you some little movie that was done in the house by that. Madam Claudia, you have the floor.
So please, if you have youths, Nigerian youths outside the country, or any youths or people
Yeah.
that
My
the
final words
election
before I
of
go, Mrs.
Nigeria is next year, and we need prayers. Yes. So please, if you have youths, we'll be sending the link. It's going to be live streamed. So
Yeah.
please do help share with the youths you have so that they can join the prayer and they will also work hard hand in hand and succeed. Yeah.
Okay. Madam Claudia, over to you.
So you can excuse
So,
Mr. Fexer.
okay. So, I think we
Yes,
can
Mr.
excuse.
Setcho.
Is
Okay.
Mr. Festo still is he still in service? Is he still working or is retired?
He's
Yes,
still working.
he's working.
Still working.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes. Kindly go on.
Hello?
Yes, please go on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Please
Okay,
go on.
good, good, good. Okay, Mr. Sergio, give thanks to what you're doing towards, yeah, give thanks to what you're doing towards strengthening the youth. You're forever blessed, and for everyone on the forum, forever blessed, and your work, you work with faith, and you prove
Mm,
yourself for what you're doing. And I'm so proud of you and everyone on this platform. So, so Mr. Sergio, I'm I have to go now, but next week we can continue and we'll have a next, hopefully a next discussion towards the youth and what they're doing for the nation.
okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Wow. Yes, we
We didn't
can.
hear the
We didn't
last.
hear the last
I'm
word.
sorry, I'm getting a bad connection. No, no,
Okay. Okay. Thank you so
it's like
very
so
much.
fuzzy. I don't know if you're hearing me. I'm hearing
We can hear you
it's
very well.
fuzzy.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Now I think let's go back to where we stopped.
You
Concerning Haile
Selassie.
Selassie. Um, Alonso, you have the floor. I want you to take it from the period of that war period downwards. We are here to listen. Okay.
Okay. Well, all right. Let's see. The just okay. The faith that is the Ethiopian, because now they call it the Orthodox, but really the word that describes the faith is Tiwahdo. Tiwahdo is similar to or Tewahido. Like to pronounce it more well in a way that's more accessible to everyone. Tewahido. Tewahido is closely. It's actually the word that the Muslims borrowed to express their faith, Tawahid, which is it just sounds identical, right? It's the
Mm,
same word that in the Hebrew expresses unity, oneness, which is ahadu, ahadu. Like without the expressive T before the ahado, ahadu. You have a oneness, and that's what that word represents. It represents the perfect union of man and God, and specifically, it's in the nature of Christ. That's what separates the Ethiopian church from some of the other Orthodox churches. They decided to accept that Christ was fully man and fully God, inseparable from each other.
mm,
Now, this relates to everything that we're talking about because it's the expression of a spiritual being com- that is fully natural, and if natural, then his spirituality becomes one and the same with his his natural divinity or divine nature per se.
mm,
It becomes one and the same, and his majesty really does become the individual to fulfill from what is has been written in scripture long before even the Christ Yesus having been present to up till now. You see, Jesus Christ, let's say to pronounce his name a little easier, did not rule over a kingdom.
mm,
He did not physically have under his responsibility millions of people that he governed. Now, this is not to take from Christ. This is just a fact that he was an individual able to make sacrifices that did not even affect a household. Let's say if a father with 5 children is to be crucified, those 5 children are left
Without
are left without a father. That's a heavy sacrifice. Jesus Christ shows us the exemplary character of the the
servant.
the full potential of spirituality as an individual. Now, Haile Selassie first, ruling a Judeo-Christian kingdom, expresses the the exemplary character, exemplary character of how to do the best operating in the highest level of human government. And in his heart is Christ, Jesus. So the same word that governs one governed the other, and in the same heart that Haile Selassie first naturally recited over, or was in possession of, in that same heart, with the same love, Christ Jesus was there, making them, the word, one and the same. And this is in the greatest sense how there is a claim of divinity to his majesty. Now, because of this person, I was able to be fathered. Without him, I had no father. And so, taking him, even if through adoption, taking him as my own personal father and accepting his divine right of rule, because he did no wrong according to what the scripture required of him, then that allows me to consider my path and my role and my existence as a divine being on its own, without having to be, without the confusion of thinking that divinity means magical powers and things that are not of this nature. You know, yes, Jesus Christ had them, but what did it prove? That it changed nothing. It changed nothing.
You have to explain that a little bit more. He did show us an example. Christ
No,
did
I
show
mean,
us.
I mean that
He
that
did something
problems
for
will.
us personally.
No, yeah, that
Christ
no, I
did
mean that it changed nothing in the sense of like that miracles. Like if it's given to us so easily, we just lose it just as easily.
because
Like
Christ didn't go on his miracles. He went on the word. And that's one thing. Everybody's like, do a miracle, do a miracle. And Christ was like, no. So again, to bring it back of his majesty, I'm sorry to interrupt you, sweetie.
so now, 1936
There we go.
In Geneva, Switzerland.
There you go.
Haile Selassie first of all, he worked very hard to get his country into the League of Nations. And one of the obstacles that the European nations had in favor of themselves to not allow Ethiopia to be a member state was the fact that slavery was existing in Ethiopia. Now, Haile Selassie did promised and did his best and was proving that he was working very hard to not only have slavery illegal, but that there was official administration and economic resources being poured into the job of making sure and policing that slavery was completely abolished. It was a work in progress.
And let me tell you again, like the Setros Foundation, Haile Selassie started this as the Prince Putariat. He didn't have rule at that time, so he had to be really careful in how he was bringing these changes to Zadutu and her administration. So he had to be even in his life, you have to see how God set you up like David very slowly. Remember, God already told David he was going to be king, but he still had to wait 40 years, the right time, the right place. So his majesty is that exemplary leader character in this present day. So continue with that.
I mean,
So
very patient and
patient.
very ahead of his time.
Very innovative. So by the time he did get into that power, he was laying down foundations for the abolishment of slavery. So let's go to Geneva.
It's important to understand how ahead of his time he was. He Most of the people that surrounded him didn't understand why he was pressing so hard to become members of the League of Nations. Now let's jump over to 1936, the Italian invasion. The League of Nations sent investigators to find out how the situation started and who was at fault. Ethiopia did not send Ethiopian delegates to do the investigation. Contrary to that, Italy did. They sent Italian. His Majesty said, "Lest they say that they ruled in our favor." So, what was the turnout of the decision? Both all the people that were sent to investigate, including the Italians, unanimously decided and agreed that it was Italian fault, that it was an Italian wrongdoing, and that the invasion was incorrect, improper, and illegal. So now the
Now,
His Majesty.
Ethiopia and Italy are part of the League of Nations, and part of the League of Nations was they are not to, because people may not understand why this is so
Well,
important.
it was a group of rules and regulations to maintain a sort of universal peace. And not only was Italy in a contractual agreement with Ethiopia through the United Nations not to make war on member states, but no member states, but Benito Mussolini had signed a an agreement with Ethiopia that they would not have war with the country. Completely going against that, he later invaded. Now, his Majesty tried his best to maintain peace. He did not want the war. It was a war that was going to be unfair, and but when it was last resort, then he knew he must defend himself. The rest of the countries in the world refused to sell weapons to him. He was able to acquire some weaponry, but Ethiopia stood strong and did as they could. Now, when His Majesty was the person that led his soldiers to battle, the last battle that was fought, he personally led his troops into battle. All right, so just to give you a little bit of the type of person that he was. Now, where was I going with that? Okay, so Geneva, Switzerland. The reason he was able to stand before the leaders of the world and complain and demand of them rescue and assistance and support was because Ethiopia had become a member state, and it was by law. So he brought this case not only to a spiritual judgment, but to a natural judgment in which the other 54, 56 member states had promised Ethiopia the assistance required because of the unlawful invasion of to their country on behalf of the the alien aggressor. And these are the words that His Majesty would use, alien aggressor, because Italians today might not be the same Italians that were then. They might have learned their lessons, but just another example of what type of person he is. So now, so now he pled before the leaders of the world, and he said towards the end, he said this: there is no government on earth but the government of God, the government of heaven, of our Lord Jesus Christ, that is superior any one to another. If it so happen that a strong government finds that it can with impunity destroy a weaker government, then the hour strikes for the weak people to raise their voice in judgment as is required of them by the what's it called, like I forgot the word, but by the decree, by the I forgot the word to describe by their covenant, by the covenant of the League of Nations. The response was nothing. But 5 years to the very day, that same message reached heaven, and heaven imposed its own judgment, overriding the inferior judgment that states had judged upon themselves, unworthy to judge for what is greater and bigger than our own personal interest, but what is good for the human community, which are words that were later spoken by His Imperial Majesty, addressing the same organization that had replaced the one that had been destroyed after proving themselves unworthy to to have the words and signatures on those paper have meaning and fill them with content. and bring them to life, and that they valued them and applied them in the life's experience. So now,
It's a deep lesson. We may have to do a Cetros because it is a spiritual and social and political lesson. But the Italian invasion shows that God was behind the
yeah,
African
now,
people,
yeah, now this
and
is
it shows the even the dichotomy between the Christian Western Christian Church, the Afro Shemitic Church, the history. It really brought it face to face, and like he was saying, 5 years to the day of the invasion, His Majesty came back.
Ethiopia receives its independence, and what I call phase two of the Second World War initiates. You see, Hitler was waiting on that decision. What was the rest of the countries going to do in respect to Ethiopia? You see, the League of Nations required all nations to stand up and defend the cause that is just, that is right. And if they were to do so, then that means that 56 nations would go up against any one nation that was trying to cause harm or do wrong. So Hitler knew that if they stuck together and they kept the covenant, then there's nothing that he could do. There's no reason, and it would just be insane to go on forward with his agenda of ruling the world. But when he saw that the League of Nations wasn't able to support Ethiopia and keep their word, he knew that the League was abandoned and over, and that gave Hitler the green light for him
Judgment,
to
God's
move on
judgment.
forward. Now the thing with Hitler is that in the late 1930s, the countries that he started invading were very glad to receive him. They didn't have a problem with it, and thus why I call the second phase of World War II. Right around the time of Ethiopia's independence, Hitler starts knocking on the doors of countries that don't necessarily approve of his ideology or his ways of governing and his ideas for all that. And so that's when France starts getting bothered by Hitler. That's when Britain, the United States becomes involved. So this was what His Majesty had warned them. Today it is us, and tomorrow it is you. I wish not that the faith that for whatever reason God has allotted to the people, to my people of Ethiopia, befall any other state. If we can avoid the same fate, then we should, but it will be tomorrow. What answer do I give to my people? And the answer, there was no answer. So you have a black leader standing in front of the European representatives of their respective nations, telling them that there will be consequences for doing and committing wrongs against a black population. It's something that the Europeans, I believe it was mentioned earlier, how they turned off the lights and made a racket because it was a joke to them, because up until that time there really hadn't been like a heavenly interference or any kind of like strong power to interfere with the wrongs of slavery, of colonialism, of all these atrocities that have been happening up until that point where His Majesty said, tomorrow it will be you. And of course, as a European from like Britain, from Great Britain, I mean, you can laugh at that. Now this is the same reason why for me, um His Majesty was the individual that gave light to me and allowed me to receive the Bible and receive Christianity and receive, although in a different way, and receive Jesus Christ as the Son of the living God. Growing up, I didn't know much. My family didn't have no religious background, although Catholic, but we knew nothing. I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference between Moses and Abraham. But I knew that this was wrong, because if colonialism, if slavery, if murder, death, rape, war, theft, all this was being perpetuated in the name of a so-called Jesus Christ, you know, being that these governments, even through the assistance and authorization of the Vatican to the countries involved, claiming to be of a Christian foundation and then committing all these atrocities, it was only logical for me as a young
Young person.
child to be against that. I couldn't explain why, but I knew that it was wrong. How could this be right if all these things that are wrong are being done by it? So His Majesty did become the resurrection of Christ in my heart, because although I didn't understand in the beginning, obviously Christianity was working for him and he was using it to do good. And I understood that it was very clear that he expected us that followed him to serve in the same manner.
Mhm.
And so I started looking into it. And once I began to study the Bible, it was very clear to me. And verses such as Revelation 5:5, where it says, "Weep not." And the elder was, he was upset because there was no one to open the book and loosen the seven seals thereof. And one of the elders say it to me, "Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah has prevailed to open the book and loose the seven seals therein." Now, before that verse, it says that there was one that sat upon the throne, in the midst of whom was a lamb as though slain. And that
Right.
and so there's one that was sitting upon this throne, but in the midst, in his heart, was the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. And let me remind you, Ethiopia itself became, like Jonah, a sacrifice by the League of Nations in hope of appeasement, just like Jonah was thrown off of the boat, hoping that that would calm the storm. The rest of the world threw Haile Selassie in Ethiopia into the waters, hoping that the world would forget the event, hoping to calm or appease the coming storm of fascism and Nazism and stuff like that. And so, to me, in my personal experience, and this is where the oneness comes in. Listen, as a ruler of my divine, as a divine, as a as
Individual.
ruling myself, divine right to rule myself,
Exactly.
I deal with other exterior issues as foreign policy. Individuals outside of myself must not be Christian if they are not. So that is an internal affair.
Yep.
And these are the elements that because His Majesty actually did rule a country, are put into effect, and I can understand them. Hey, if I deal with Muslims, it's okay. It's only for the well-being of the greater good for the human community that we coexist in relative peace. I must not give up my own principles and my faith and my personal experience with God because of such a thing.
And that's what the youth have to learn. Continue.
And so,
That's
so
what the youth have to be instilled in that. Because remember, I love my husband's testimony because
I
earlier
want
they mentioned His
I want
Majesty
to
was also a governor at 14 years old of a Muslim
whoa.
and did great for the Muslim. His father
as a
did
Christian.
great. The first modern hospital in Ethiopia was built by a Christian on a Muslim territory.
And again, as a relation, my husband in the society would be looking like a rebellious kid because he was rebelling in different ways, because he didn't know how to express this is crap. This is crap. So that's what's probably happening with the Nigerian and African youth. They don't know where to look, so they're just rebelling from the system. But they need to know the integral, and know that they have to have that divine integrity in their and that there's so much to say. But see, God has helped my young man, my husband, as a young man, to become such a great leader in the household and to be an example to even rebellious youth to get to understand. Go ahead, Ben.
Well, just to make mention of what I learned that I had to do. I was raised up right on the border with Mexico and the United States. So at first, when I received a lot of information from above, and not the information, I received the wisdom to make sense of it and to explain it. So I began teaching this in English, but then I realized that the purpose and the reason why I was on the border and I wasn't considered American in the U.S. and I wasn't considered Mexican like in the south of the border. I realized that my duty was to transmit that information into the language of the people that looked like me could relate. And I just say that it's off topic, but just so
It's
that
on topic. Perfect.
so that just for once to understand like a little bit of what I do for the past several years, that after I was called, um I would just teach to those that can understand Spanish wherever they found themselves, and they responded from all countries, all different countries in Latin America and even beyond that. Teaching them and helping them understand and giving them a choice, just a choice of something different, of something that's different, and that uplifts the black community, that uplifts the black so-called human being, and that totally differs from everything that we may have encountered prior to that, so that light-skinned, Hispanic and Latino
Light-skinned black
people
people.
could want to emphasize and represent the blackness that is also in them
Mm-hmm.
as a native,
Native.
so just to say a little bit of what I've been taught
I
to do.
want I want Dr. Ojo to react
Yeah,
to this.
yeah. God bless you, my brother. God bless you. God bless you. You said a lot. It makes a lot of sense. I think your words communicate a lot of things I've been trying to say over many years. It clarified a little bit better. So I hope a lot of people will watch this. I hope this can be played to the youth, and I hope a lot of people will learn from this. So it's been a belief, it's been a mentality and the belief of the Western nation that African does not mean anything, that they don't see African as being anything. They think we don't amount to anything. They don't. Like they have a different picture of what African is. That is exactly what led to the slavery. That's exactly what led to the killing. That's exactly what is leading to the racism and segregation that is being going on for many years, even up to today. It is because they, in their brain, they are mentally up there, they have a different picture. They don't see us as human beings. And like, I'm serious. They might not use that word, but some of their action and behavior and the way they treat us, it says that a lot, loud and clear. So it is our responsibility to prove them wrong, to ask them questions, to tell them, if possible, to tell them to shut up. If possible, we have to do that. That is what His Royal Majesty Haile Selassie, that's what he did. And that's why the people then and up to now, some people are still calling him God, because they laugh at him because they cannot imagine that anyone from that part of the world will have such a sense or brain to be asking those questions, to be holding them accountable, because they believe nobody should be able to hold them accountable because they believe they are the one that rules the world. Not knowing that God established the world, created the world, and is in charge. You only allow you and I or whoever is there for a particular period to just take responsibility or to just be a custodian of some things. It's still God that is in charge of the universe.
Yes.
And that is why, despite all that's been done, the atrocity and the inhuman and the crazy thing that have been done to Africa, Africa is still strong till tomorrow. Africa is still in existence till tomorrow. Africa is still the second largest continent in the world till tomorrow. Without some God backings and some universal laws backing Africa up, Africa will have been wiped up based on what has happened.
That's their plan, so that they can take our land. But God has never allowed them. If it were possible, they would have driven all Africans away and taken over our land, our mineral resources, and everything. They love our land, but they don't love the people.
Right. Our personal esteem will have been like dropped, like will have been so low. But see, we still are bold, we are still courageous, we are still knowledgeable, we are still strong, physically and mentally. It's because there's a God backing. There's a God factor, which but now my question now is, why are we not presenting all these stories all this history to our kids? Why is it not being documented? Why is it not in a book? Why is it not being taught in schools? Why? So that's the question we're supposed to be asking ourselves. This is a great example of an African leader that lived many years ago, that was empowered with God knowledge and intellect, and he was able to hold them accountable, challenge them, prophesied, and everything he said came to pass. And he's a scholar as well, because a lot of his quotes and everything is applicable to us even to today.
Yes.
So why don't we take pride in ourselves and what we have? Why are we like trading what we have, God's given, history, culture, heritage, value, principle? Why do we trade it for peanuts? Why do we trade it for peanuts? Those are my challenge. Those are my questions. Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves and our leaders. And those are the questions, like you was able to challenge them. Those are the things that are supposed to be happening going forward. Like we should be asking them questions, not just go to meetings of the world leaders and just go there just to drink the tea and eat the cake and just look at the beautiful environment and not ask questions and not think about our own history and our own future as a race. You see, because until we start doing that, they're not going to take us serious. Like they've never taken us serious up to today. You see what I'm saying? So all this is supposed to be in books. All this is supposed to be taught in schools, so that the youth can be inspired that yes, I'm not inferior, because no human race is inferior to another. We're all human beings created by God, with God's given blood flowing through our vein, which is the same for everybody. You see what I'm saying? So we should not be trading our values, our principles, our culture for anything. We are too quick to do that. As African continent, as African nation, we are too quick to do that. I don't know why. We
It's
shouldn't.
true. Yes.
We should not. While we learn from other people, while we learn their technology, while we learn their education, we should not throw what is our own God's given idea, principle, innovation, and values and culture. We should not throw it away. We should not dump it. That's just the reason why they won't take us serious.
So true.
We shouldn't throw our mother tongue away just for English. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Because why should I respect you if just by me just showing you one or two things and then you're able to just forget your father, your mother, your culture, your history and everything? Why should I take you serious? You see what I'm saying? So we can't really blame them entirely. We have a lot of fault too. So we have to address that. We have to correct that. So that's what we need to be telling the youth. Like, you are a human being. You belong to a human race. And that should be it. Nothing like you are black or you're African. You are a human race, and everybody's belong to a human race. Right? And we should be given the history and this lesson of these great people on what they have done, and how God helped them to get to that highest level, to the point of meeting with leagues of nations and holding them accountable to their own laws and principles, so that they can also have that boldness and courage as they are growing up, that they are not inferior to anybody wherever they go. That's what needs to be happening. That's what should be happening from every one of us. So that's my own takeaway from here. Like, they didn't take him serious. They laughed at what he said because they were like, this black man from he's gonna hold us accountable. It doesn't make sense to them. But it got done on them, like, yeah, what he said came to pass. And that must be the reason why they did not include this part of the story in the World War II, because it's not there. They didn't include it there. They didn't include it there because they don't want anything great to come from Africa. So the narrative has to be changed. The narrative has to be changed. And we have to be the one to start it. So instead of why we want to focus on praying and revival and all of those are great. We also have to pass our culture. We also have to teach it. the principles of our forefathers that worked. We need to also preach it too. We need to also tell those stories too. We need to also, communicate that too. That's my own philosophy. That's my own belief. So I think I will stop it right there. And
No, we thank you, Dr. Ojo.
It's
We
true.
thank you. It's true. I let my king.
No, we agree. We agree, and well, just like it's only natural for a baby to be born and first be held by the mother and then take crawl and then before he takes his steps, given to for whatever reason God has allowed it to be in such a way at in such a time, then we're the truth is in like manner, um developing slowly. We hope that it picks up the pace, for the good of all people. But yeah, we do what we can, and the spread of information, like you said, is absolutely necessary. Like when Jesus says that we're the salt, salt is a preservative.
Right.
um See what happened in Ethiopia, the way that I can, and I can see it in any kind of way that is necessary in order for me to have a reasonable and uplifting communication with any human being. But in a personal manner in which the story of Ethiopia happened is this: some of us were spread abroad so that when internal conflict would destroy the realm from within, the preservation of its fullness was already left from without. And so and so because I have many experiences where Ethiopians tell me, how do you know this, and how can you paint like them, and who taught you these things, because I also do art, and it's all Ethiopian style, and I explain things, and a lot of times they're like, but how, and I truly accept to be true. I truly believe that it is because the plan for Ethiopia and the preservation of this truth, because Ethiopia is a symbol of 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 the things that are, I don't want to make any other place less. Every place in this world is equally important, but God held a special significance to the realm of Ethiopia as as the place where we could see from without that which wasn't able to be received from within. Those words make little sense. I understand, but it doesn't matter. The point is that we are out here obtaining all this information, all this knowledge, when there's chaos in the area where it did happen. And so we become the salt of the earth, and we can preserve and redistribute this truth, this information, the fullness, the truth that would not be told by those that would rather it not have came to pass, and by that I mean, like the Europeans in power and stuff like that. Of course they don't like it, so they're not gonna, like talk about this, or it's not in their best interest to advertise this, but it is for ours, and we do what we can. So thank you, like thanks for your part, like it's very good to see others that think alike and accept the same things, and yet someone could look at us and think that we're completely different, you know
Right. You are muted, Mr. Cetro.
Apologies. I said I really appreciate every one of us for making today's live stream very interesting. Alonso, Dr. Joe, Claudia, Festus, Nubin, me, and as much people that came on ground. We really appreciate you. But before we go, I just want you to have a little taste of what is uh, happening in the foundation to this past week. We've been able to, I think, from what we just discussed today, I will be looking at drafting out African related stories for some of our youths that are interested in acting and the likes. I pray that we are able to access funds. I'll draft out some African stories for them to act out I think that will also encourage them. But let me just share few videos of what some of these youths that we have been training, what they are doing presently. I have a video here concerning the this particular youth you are seeing here. Is one of those youth that we assisted in in what's it called, in one of the villages in Oyo State also. So he's in upholstery, just like we're talking of Emperor Haile Selassie. He was tapping into youths like this to develop their country. And look at this youth. The universities were on strike for 7 months. He returned back from school to go back to where we registered him for the upholstery. That is what he's currently working on. He's working on a chair. This is what we are talking about here. This youth is not just, we are not just talking about praying, spirituality. We are combining spirituality and work. You engage this youth so that they can be productive. That's how we can grow this youth into the kind of future we want for Africa. You can imagine, by the time he's an expert in this, even by the time he finishes his education, he can set up an industry where they can be constructing shares like this, instead of Africa always depending on importing. We can be an exporter of nice what's it called, furnitures like this. And I'm so happy seeing that the boy, even after going to school, university, when they are on strike, still got back to continue from the craft that we registered him for. Okay, I move to the next video. The next video is about the one in mechanics, the one that we paid training for in auto mechanics. Let's see what he's doing. Okay, so let me mute it. This is one of, there are actually two that we enrolled for auto mechanics. This is one of them. He has advanced to doing more works in on vehicles now. These are the ways we can begin to build this youth, because when I was reading through the life of Emperor Haile Selassie, I was now just laughing, because who knows, tomorrow you and I, those of us that we are supporting this foundation, we might actually, definitely we will end up in the book of record of some little set of Africans that came out bold to help the future of Africa to be where it will be as at that period. Because youths like this, before you know it, by the time they are all specialists and the likes, we'll be able to get land and build factories for them, where some, who knows, some of them might end up producing cars of their own and the likes tomorrow. Okay, let's go to the other video. The other video is on another youth that was into cosmetics, or what have you. Is it cosmetics they call it? Facial, okay, beauty parlor. This is, if you remember this yeah, small girl then that we paid for our training. Presently, she's done with her training, but she still continue going there. By the time we have a fund, by the time the foundation has fund, we might need to uh, do a graduation so that she can now have a place set up for herself. So that is how we can change the narrative. So why am I showing us this? It's not just that we are coming here to just talk and talk. No, I don't believe in talking. I believe in looking at the lives of those that have gone ahead of us, people like His Royal Majesty Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie. looking at the great people that have gone ahead of us, what they've done, the legacy they left behind. We should not do what they have done, but we should improve on their legacy. Because if we are just able to achieve what they have done, then we have not done much. We should surpass what they have done. And I tell you, for a young foundation like us, with this in our mindset, we can always go and go further in life. So I want to really appreciate every one of us. The last video I want to share here is a video that talked about what is going on in Nigeria, because there is no way you talk about Africa that you will not talk about Ethiopia or Nigeria. These two countries play key roles in the history of Africa. And as such, this next video, it was a story that was handwritten by myself, directed by um, directed in this foundation, and it was our youth that we train in cinematography and what's it called, photography, that shot it. And the actors are youths that have been trained in from this foundation. So I want us to have a look at that, because if we don't know what value we are adding to this youth, then we might not know that we are changing lives by the little efforts that we're having, that we're putting to. Okay, let me see where that is. Just a few minutes. Okay. I want to make sure it's okay. Okay. I think this.
Yes, boss. I'm moving out of targets. The two suicide fifth have been positioned to attack at block 9.
See how many cities scatter Ronaldo. Oga, not that much. Who down? Wetin be Messi for this ball when Ronaldo don win? Oga, wetin Ronaldo dey play there? Who down? Who between na four? Honestly, Mbappe sef dey monkey on sef. What giving na four? Wetin Ronaldo sabi do? Old man. Wetin dey talk? Suppose to dey house dey watch. Wetin know about ball sef?
We Messi fans for you.
Yeah, watch your ball. Abeg. Carry go. Messi fans na fit you talk in our.
Now, in northeastern Nigeria, at least 20 people have been killed, 30 critically injured in an attack by Boko Haram. 3 suicide bombers detonated their explosives in the town of Konduga in Borno State. A crowd of people had gathered in the area to watch a football game. The number of casualties is expected to rise.
Hello, boss. Mission accomplished. Those idiots have been wasted. Yes, sir. And please don't forget to send my 200k. It's up. Thank you.
Believe. First of all, how was your hookup yesterday? Because that maga that I catched, I had a great time with him. And after then, guess what? The nigga gave me extra 30k on top of the 50k he priced me, girl. Wow. Yeah, girl.
Now, wow. Do you know the guy that took me yesterday?
What about him?
That guy is so stupid and useless. Can you imagine? He was pricing me for 15k. Can you take it?
Are you serious, girl?
Look at me now.
Oh my gosh, who does that?
Oh my god. As if I'm a second-hand bag from Italy.
Please, girl, I can't. I really can't. Please. It's not me. I just pray that today's market will be much more better. Again, baby girl, I trust you.
Oh my god.
You waste time. You waste time.
on the go to the slaughterhouse. So many youths are killed on daily basis.
That's why we cannot all afford to fold our hands and do nothing. We're inviting you all to a prayer program tagged Youth Pray for Nigeria 2022, where we shall be calling on God to help free a nation, coming up on Saturday, the 22nd October 2022, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Buses will be available at different pickup locations. Departure time is 7 a.m. prompt. For further information, please call the numbers showing below.
Okay, so that was just a simple story that we drafted in this foundation to depict just a little of what is happening in this country. Majority of our youths, they are either going into robbery, cybercrime, a whole lot, cultism and the likes. A lot of them have been kidnapped for rituals. A lot of them are missing, is very risky. Things that is now getting more dangerous out here. But we cannot fold our hands as we are helping them uh, physically by empowering them. We also need to expose them to prayer. And when they gather in such places, we expect that as they are being groomed spiritually, they are also groomed intellectually so that we can balance it up and stop reducing our female youth to prostitute and our male youth to what's it called, to kill, to kidnappers and disturbance of the peace of the nation. So with that being said, I want to really appreciate every one of us.
Yeah,
We have an unsolicited.
Hi, cutie. Thank you guys. Look at that baby.
So with that being said, you can imagine these youths as we are grooming them up. By the time we even have, I look forward to a period that Cetrus Foundation we have what we call Films Village. By the time we have Film Village, all those youth that want to act and the likes of them, they will have something to do, and exposing them to their talents, their craft, and also giving them the spiritual backing and developing morals in them. That will help a lot. And based on what we've discussed, and we'll be discussing all this while, I will also look for ancient African stories that they can act and bring out the culture,
Yes,
the history and culture of Africa. And I think that will really play a major role because the youth of nowadays, they are more interested in visuals, audio visuals, films and the likes appeal to their knowledge faster than anything. So by the time they begin to watch films and short films and the likes that tells them what is obtainable in our historical facts that has been hidden, it will also help to curb a lot of this Western influence that is eroding our own traits. So, with that being said, I want to really appreciate every one of us, and I want us to give our parting words. So, let's start with Alonso. Madam Nubini, what's your parting word for tonight?
We just say thank you and bless you. It was a great conversation and the building blocks, as God has showed, everything starts in small and getting us ready. Because sometimes if he gave us everything, we definitely wouldn't be ready. We messing it up, giving the wrong knowledge to the wrong people and giving money away to the wrong ones. So we want to thank you. And yes, that cultural remembrance through using media and technology is exactly what the youth need to kind of know our history, her story, and the real stories, and to be able to not reinvent them, but to really dig into it. And
How do you turn on the
oh yeah, here you go. Okay. And yes. So that's what I say. So go ahead, baby. And then
No, I just like to say thank you, thanks everyone. But this whole topic about Haile Selassie could really it has different areas that could be useful for other places in Africa. For instance, did you know that Nelson Mandela was smuggled out of South Africa by order of His Imperial Majesty and taken to Ethiopia and trained? and trained in military tactics and
Facts.
things like that, and was gifted a very famous, now famous gun that was his a sign of his completion of training, and shortly after was arrested. You know, like
And his ship, His
now,
Majesty with the United African UO,
yeah, the
just that
African
history.
Union. There's in Kenya, it is said that the actual tomb of in one of those highest mountains, Mount, I don't I don't know what the
In
mountain is
Kenya,
called, but it's supposed to be,
Kilimanjaro.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
Menelik. The story of Menelik is actually like embedded in those areas, because they understand that the king of Ethiopia was buried in that mountain. And I think in another Western African country, they say that Makeda was actually buried, and that part of the tradition is that women are not allowed to go into those areas. And it kind of like agrees with to this day there's churches in Ethiopia where women are not allowed to step on.
But
So
just
what I'm
the
saying is,
cross-African culture
yeah,
stories,
I'm
our
saying,
stories to our region, and our stories also
yeah,
collaborating.
I'm just saying that there's a lot. I'm just saying there's a lot that we as human beings can get from. I mean, just look at me, and I've gotten so much from it, you know. So I'm the one that was fighting my own family, telling them, no, mom, you're black, you know. So just uh, like I had to give up my nature. I went against my nature, and was the one that introduced that idea and that truth, and now,
There are a lot of
yeah,
Africans who came into this region and were whited out because of
yeah.
political, social. There are a lot of indigenous people in South America who are actually visibly African, still African.
And now my mother has images like this one right here that she claims to be of her favorite.
Whoa. Well,
So it all took
And
time.
that's my husband's artwork, by the way.
It
This
all
is all
took
his
time.
artwork that you have in the
wow.
background. So
That's
yes,
great.
so don't worry, fashion designing and the art. Okay, t-shirt, etc.
And my daughter is an artist too. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be
so
So
great.
thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Gracias. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank
Muchas
you
gracias. Okay.
very
And
much.
Wow,
you too.
thank you so
And
very
merci
much.
beaucoup, Dr. Ojo. And
Merci
also
beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
and also the pastor.
What
So
do you think?
important what he's doing. So
Yeah.
important what's happening. So we give thanks, and that's our final. And yes,
Yeah, we have no battery, so we're gonna.
Yeah, we're doing some alternative battery charging.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
very
very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Great
Yeah.
you.
Dr. Joe, over to you now.
Yeah. So thank you everybody, and we should all be aware that this is an educative platform, and we've all been learning from everybody from time to time, weekly. So I'm proud to be part of this team, and to the African community, I want to communicate to us that we all belong to human race, regardless of whether you're in Africa, you are in Asia, you are in North America, you are in India. Regardless of where we are, we all belong to human race, and there's no human race that is superior to other. We are all the same. We have the same blood flowing through our vein. Our complexion, our skin color is as a result of the geographical location that we are in, or that we grew up, or that our ancestors grew up, and the things that are unique to that environment and the food and stuff that they eat. That's what bring about the difference in our skin colors, and that should not be a point of discrimination or segregation. We all belong to human race, and every African child, youth, adults should be able to express that wherever they go, and should be able to have that boldness and courage to contribute to any society that they find themselves, and has the right question. And Since we are not, since no one is superior to other, the only difference is just based on whatever value and education you've had it to yourself, or whatever, however you have improved on yourself, right? In terms of knowledge, in terms of skills and stuff like that. Those should be the only difference, and everybody can do that, right? So, with that said, there should be an end to trading our values, our principles, our culture, our language for peanuts. It does not matter what we are getting in return. There should be no reason why we should continue to do that. So to the African community, that needs to stop. We need to communicate that to our children. All these great stories and the many more that we're going to bring up in the future of our veterans, of our ancestral, of great leaders that are from Africa need to be projected to the entire world, just like we read about Abraham Lincoln and all those great people that we have read about, that we have seen about. The same should be done to our African great leaders as well, because they are really great indeed. Despite all the challenges and the location where they find themselves, they're still able to do those great things. So those should be communicated. Those should not be forgotten. So it's our individual responsibility, everybody in his own capability, in his own household, to do that. And thank you to Central Foundation for the platform, for giving us the privilege. And
Thank you.
we pray that the youth we
Thank
continue
you
to
so much, sir.
and progress, and we will always be ready to support them. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you so very much, sir.
sir.
We really appreciate
We
you
appreciate you.
always being there for us.
And let me just quickly add this as we wrap up. The annual youth conference, we decided to move it forward from November 26th to December 10th, so that we could have enough time to solicit to get funding for the event and plan the program properly. Now that we are having more youths coming in with their projects, a lot of them are wrapping up and the like. So we then the foundation committee members that will be seeing this video, we've been calling for an agreement on a meeting for us to meet. I think that meeting, we should consolidate that meeting, should have that meeting this week, within this week. I'll just send a WhatsApp chat to us so that we'll pick a particular date, because we can't continue to wait for so long, so that we can put our house in order. We are planning towards because we have two projects now to be executed before the end of this year. December 10 is our youth annual conference. Then December 25th is our Christmas chicken distribution. So we don't want to wait till when it's too close before we start making preparations for that. So God helping us, let's see how God will just assist us to do what we are planning out to do. So far, there is a will, there is always a way. Because usually every year, every end of the year, we all know that we like to feed the less privileged families. At least a minimum, we have been doing this for about 2 years now. A minimum of 100 families have always been fed with live chicken. Sorry for the disturbance from my voice. Live chicken and some food stuff. So we want to start preparing ahead of time so that we don't get into the end of the year rush. Okay, from 16, more melanin, darker skin tone, less melanin, lighter skin tone, one human race. Thanks for pointing this out. That's to Dr. Ojo from Madam Olaomi there. So we really appreciate every one of you that have made today a fantastic one. Within the week, will be letting us know the topic for the next Sunday's live stream. We appreciate every one of you, especially those that are returning back to work very early this morning. Dr. Ojo, Madam Olaomi, we really appreciate you. Thank you so very much. So,
Madam Claudia,
Mr. Alonso. So everyone, we appreciate you. Thank
the new
you.
people
Thank
that
you.
came.
And for all of us that rescued the foundation space.
Thank
you
you
so
so
very
very
much.
much. God bless
God
you,
bless
sir.
you. Bye bye.
Yeah, we need more donations. We need more donations. Everyone enjoying this platform should contribute their widow's mite to keep it going, because it's a great privilege to have this foundation and this platform. So we need more support from everyone. Tell a friend to tell a friend to support this foundation, and we all be blessed. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you so very
Thank you
much.
so very
So you
much.
can play the go for
You can always, in case you are seeing this video up to now, you can always support the foundation through the GoFundMe link. Just
yes.
I think no, this is the full link of the GoFundMe. You can go there, support as many youths that you can support there, so that we continue to be able to carry out what we are supposed to do. So from every one of us, we want to say thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
sir.
Bye, sir.
All right, bye.
Yes, sir.